Chapter 988. Lin Ruashi's face was pale, her voice trembling. What do you mean by that? What do I mean? Yang Qing smirked, looking at the woman, then at Li Jianhe. If you're not trying to get close to her on purpose, then there must be some special connection between the two of you, isn't there? Li Jianhe smiled stiffly, standing up. Mr. Yang, I think you've misunderstood. I really just found out that if— Oh no! General Lin is at the company, she's here to discuss some business. Do you think I'll believe that? Yang Qing asked coldly. Li Jianhe stuttered, not knowing how to continue. Lin Ruashi's eyes were glistening with tears, as though they would fall at any moment. You suspect me, Yang Qing didn't have the slightest hint of pity. I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears. Is that what you call suspecting? We only had lunch together. We're only in the middle of a deal. Do you think that's enough for you to show your ugly side? Lin Ruashi retorted. You're saying I'm narrow-minded and ugly? Yang Qin was so angry that he laughed. He nodded and said, Looks like I was right. You actually called your husband ugly in front of this guy? At least he doesn't scare people indiscriminately like you do, nor does he disrespect others like you do. Lin Ruashi stared back fearlessly. Yang Cheng's fists were clenched tightly, veins popping out, like explosives ready to explode at any moment. Li Jianhe was scared out of his wits. Ever since he found out that Lin Ruashi was married to a descendant of the Yang family, he didn't dare to harbor any ill intentions. He just wanted to use Lin Ruashi to repair his relationship with Yang Qing. The reason why he requested to meet Lin Ruashi was probably because he wanted to catch up with her when Yang Qin wasn't around so that he could get some benefits from the Yang clan. He didn't expect Yang Qing to suddenly come back. Moreover, at this very moment, it had clearly become the fuse between husband and wife. Wasn't this his bad luck for 7 or 8 lifetimes? Seeing that Yang Qing was about to explode, Li Jianhe hurried Shanshan to the office door. Then, Mr. Yang, General Lin, I'll go back first. Don't be angry. Don't be angry. Nothing good would come of staying, so of course he slipped away. However, Yang Qing turned his head and glared at him coldly. Li Jianhe froze, unsure if he should continue to leave. Lin Ruashi gritted her teeth. Senior Li, just leave. He won't do anything. Li Jianhe finally felt a little more anshin, his body trembling as he finally left the office, closing the door carefully behind him. Soon, the faint sounds of running could be heard. It was Li Jianhe running for his life. Lin Ruashi looked at the man's solemn expression, silently staring at him for a while, before turning back to her desk. He's already gone. If there's nothing else, please leave. I still have work to do. Yang Chen's gaze turned exceptionally gloomy. You seem to think that I won't dare to do anything. Lin Ruashi froze, turning back to look at Yang Qing coldly. What do you want to do? An enigmatic smile appeared on Yang Cheng's face. He walked slowly to the woman and said calmly, Ever since we met, I've always been lenient to you. As long as you want to do something, I'll do my best to satisfy you. I admit that I've done many things to make you unhappy and sad, I understand that. That's why I won't demand anything from you, and I won't force you to do anything for me. I admit that I wasn't considerate enough to run away on our wedding night. I admit that I was wrong, but I can explain myself. At least I don't think it was a mistake to save 2 people's lives. But no matter how angry you are, you should at least give me a chance to understand and explain. I know you're arrogant and don't want to bow your head fine, you want to return to Zhonghai early. You have your own temper and pride, I can accept that. That's why I rushed back to see you after I finished my business in Beijing. I want to explain everything to you. Lin Ruashi's eyes flickered with anger. Is that all you want to say? Should I be grateful to you for tolerating me, grateful to you for letting me go? No need, that's what I should do. Yang Qing continued indifferently, I'm just curious about how your heart grows. Isn't the structure a little too complicated? It's so complicated that even you don't know what you should be like. Lin Ruoshi felt that the man's unusual calmness was a little strange. What do you mean? I don't understand. Yang Qing shook his head. Do you really think that I can tolerate everything you do? Or do you think that I can already give in without a bottom line for you? I can accept you throwing a tantrum. I can accept you locking me out on your wedding night. I can accept you returning to Zhonghai without listening to my explanation. I can also accept you continuing the Cold War with me with cold words. At this point, Yang Cheng's eyes finally became stern. But I can't accept that you're with another man behind my back, especially a man that I can't accept as a husband. Do you think that I'm already so tolerant of you that I'm willing to wear a green hat, or do you think that I'll never be able to raise my head in front of you, just because I found a lover, you can rekindle your old love? Enough. Lin Ruoshi was so angry that her face turned red. Tears filled her eyes and her delicate body trembled. I won't allow you to say that about me. Ha ha! Why not? Yang Qing laughed wildly. You can do such a thing, but you won't allow me to say it out loud. Lin Ruoshi, do you really think you're a fairy or a bodhisattva? Let me tell you, when I love you and dote on you, you're a treasure in my eyes. If you piss me off, even if I'm on the street, I can still strip you naked. Don't use my gentleness towards you as a sharp knife that can restrain me. Without me, you're nothing. Lin Ruoshi could no longer listen. Endless grievances and sadness mixed with pain and anger made the woman instinctively raise her hand, wanting to slap Yang Cheng's face. But how could Yang Cheng let a woman hit him? After directly grabbing Lin Ruoshi's wrist, Yang Cheng sneered, Hit me? Do you really think you can hit me? If I don't want you to touch me, don't talk about hitting me, you can't even touch my hair. You bastard, I hate you. Lin Ruoshi finally couldn't help but break down and cry. The sound of sobbing made the woman look like a helpless girl, and tears of despair kept falling. But Yang Qing no longer had the slightest bit of pity. Instead, he was especially excited, and his eyes emitted a fanatical fire. I finally understand, so it turns out that I've been wrong all along. Looks like I cared too much about you, and it makes you feel that everything is natural. Yang Cheng's body pressed down, and Lin Ruoshi was pressed down on the desk. Lin Ruoshi's waist was abnormally soft. After being tensed up, she was bent 90 degrees, and tightly pressed against the desk. Her face could feel Yang Cheng's heavy breathing and scorching heat. The two of them looked at each other closely. The woman's face was filled with panic and helplessness, while the man's face was filled with a wicked smile. Lin Ruoshi, let me tell you, I will not give up on any of the women I love, because they are worth it, and I have to protect them. Whether it is Qiangwei or Qianni, they are all willing to give up their lives for me. Yonyan, Ning Er can suffer for me, Anxin can leave her biological father for me, Mingyu can give up everything for me, and even suffer injustice. Do you think that they are different from you? Just because they are not as good-looking as you, no one wants them? Or do you think that they can only rely on you to steal men? They were born to be despised by you without a name or a share. That's right, I forgot to tell you. Just yesterday, Tang Wan's grandfather, Tang Zhichen, betrayed us, but Tang Wan would rather choose to die with me than accept the chance her grandfather gave her to live. Only at that time would I feel that I am a man who needs to take responsibility, and not a damned coward who has to explain all those boring things to you all day long. They have done so much for me, how can you compete with them for the title of the legal wife? I actually made Ron prepare for more than half a year for a woman like you, and searched the entire world to prepare a rose rain for you. Perhaps you're right, I'm indeed a bastard, a complete bastard. Lin Ruoshi's pretty face was deathly pale. She bit her red lips, and her elegant face was filled with stubborn anger as she struggled in the mud. Since you think they are so good, then don't lie on me. Go find your woman and don't waste your time with me. Lin Ruoshi replied coldly, but only she knew the pain in her heart. The man's words were like the deadliest steel knife, constantly stabbing at her deepest tenderness. He could actually say such cruel words to her. "Are you kidding me? I haven't done my business yet." Yang Qing suddenly lowered his head and kissed Lin Ruoshi's ear, sucking away the jasmine fragrance. Lin Ruoshi's delicate body trembled, and a burst of dark red quickly flowed past her ears. An unbelievable thought emerged in the woman's mind. Could it be that he was going to? Chapter 989. Without waiting for Lin Ruoshi to think about it, Yang Cheng's eyes had already burst out a burning light. "You're my wife that I haven't touched for almost 2 years. Since we've already arranged a wedding, we have to have sex no matter what." Lin Ruoshi's red eyes were filled with panic and loss. "Yang Qing, you don't mess around, mess around?" Yang Qing grinned and said, "How can it be called messing around when a husband and wife is intimate? You're not that kind of person, you're not." Lin Ruoshi begged, "Don't do such a terrible thing, okay? You can't do that to me." Lin Ruoshi clearly felt that between Yang Cheng's legs, a majestic hardness had already collided between her thighs. That kind of boiling heat, even through the pants, could deeply feel the power contained in it. This kind of crazy male hormones made Lin Ruoshi both shy and afraid. Yang Qing didn't care so much. His hot lips began to kiss the woman's forehead, cheeks, and ears. From time to time, his lips and tongue would intertwine with Lin Ruoshi's red lip. This kind of delicate teasing made Lin Ruoshi extremely breathless, and she started to speak incoherently. Don't. Yang Qing, don't do this, woo-woo. You're so fragrant." Yang Qing seemed to be talking in his sleep. The fragrance of the woman under him, and the greed and love that erupted after being suppressed for too long, made him unable to extricate himself. After imprisoning the woman under him, a pair of hands began to move from Lin Ruoshi's waist, along the curve of the waist in 2 different ways. One hand climbed up a peak, and the other hand slid down to the woman's beautiful buttocks. The deep-collared uniform suit made it easy for Yang Cheng's hand to explore the snow-white skin. After easily unbuttoning a button on the chest, the bright and clean shirt was pulled open. Yang Cheng's hand easily grasped a lump of plump and supple flesh. That kind of silky smooth touch felt as if there was nothing in his hand, yet it was so full. The moment he touched a tiny acacia bean, he could feel the female body beneath him trembling. Lin Ruoshi was exceptionally sensitive. She unconsciously let out a teasing moan from her throat. That kind of deep, throbbing female voice was enough to make any man go crazy. The flames in Yang Cheng's eyes burned even brighter, as if he wanted to devour the woman beneath him. Lin Ruoshi could feel the rhythm of her nerve. The man's continuous attacks on her made her weakly give up resisting. In the gradual blurriness, 2 lines of tears fell from the corners of Lin Ruoshi's eyes, but she didn't notice it herself, because all her energy had been attracted by the sensitive special feeling. Lin Ruoshi was a little ashamed to feel a trace of coolness starting to spread between her legs. This rude and aggrieved man actually made her so disappointing that she instinctively cooperated with him. Lin Ruoshi was annoyed, but more than that, she had the mentality of compromising. It had been almost 2 years. Perhaps she should have given it to him long ago. Forget it, who asked this man to be her husband? Being bullied by him like this, perhaps it was also fate. However, he actually dared to do this to her in the office. She must not easily forgive him. Lin Ruoshi's brain could no longer continue thinking because Yang Cheng's right hand had already pulled her short skirt down to her knees. His lower body was suddenly empty, and 2 plump, but not much round and beautiful legs were intertwined and rubbing against each other. Woo, the 2 of them continued to kiss passionately. Yang Qing had already bitten the woman's small tongue and continuously sucked the sweet juice. At the same time, one of Yang Cheng's hands tyrannically squeezed open the gap between her legs. When he touched a large wet area along the inside of her thighs, Yang Cheng's hands started to knead even more absurdly. Lin Ruoshi only felt a burst of hot blood crazily rushing through her cheeks. That extremely private part was constantly teased by the man, and the frequency of her delicate body trembling became faster and faster. and what followed closely was even more spring water. Lin Ruoshi never knew that she could be so out of control. She, who was extremely bashful, was already sobbing in the wet kiss. Yang Qing finally loosened his tongue and grinned evilly. I really didn't expect that my baby wife would actually be this sensitive. Your lower part is almost like a waterfall. Lin Ruoshi turned her head away and bit her thin lips. Her long eyelashes trembled, not daring to listen, much less look at the man. Yang Qing sucked hard on the woman's fiery face, only to feel that it was full of elasticity. The first time I did it with you, I couldn't maintain my rationality even after drinking. I don't know what it felt like that night. I think you're the same. Today you have to be more sober. I want you to completely understand that angering me is definitely a painful and happy thing. Lin Ruoshi couldn't understand what he meant, because the current situation had directly short-circuited her brain. Yang Qing's hand had unknowingly pulled the shirt in front of her chest open. The black thin lace edge, the sexy deep bra, was also directly pulled down. A pair of snow-white jade-like breasts that had been tied up swayed. The glaring whiteness made Yang Qing deeply intoxicated. Perhaps it was because of her clothes and position, the woman hid her fullness extremely well. If he didn't feel it at such a close distance, he definitely wouldn't have received such a strong impact. Yang Qing gently covered it with one hand, but he was unable to grasp it completely. Involuntarily, Yang Qing buried his face deep into the red beans after gently fiddling with them. He took a deep breath of the fragrant woman's fragrance, and the crowded softness made Yang Qing's face unable to help but rub it. Lin Ruoshi panted. Her entire body was as soft as a pool of soft water. Her entire body was covered in red and pink, and her eyes seemed to ripple. All the coldness and anger from before, under the man's constant manipulation, turned into a flirtatious and seductive state. Perhaps the love in her heart for men made her unable to resist such intimate contact. Lin Ruoshi unconsciously began to fall into everything. Yang Qing paced back and forth in front of the beautiful scenery for a long time, and finally tore off the woman's completely wet underwear. The limp Lin Ruoshi was unable to cooperate at all. After the man separated her slender and soft thighs, a pair of underwear fell onto the red high heels, but she couldn't care less. In the blink of an eye, the woman's upper body was only covered with a loose jacket and shirt, and her lower body was empty. All the beautiful scenery of the peach garden, and the patter of water stains, could be seen at a glance. After Yang Qing untied the restraints on his lower body, he released the long spear that could no longer be controlled. Holding on to Lin Ruoshi's slender waist, Yang Qing threw himself onto the woman's body. Lin Ruoshi's back was tightly pressed against the spacious office table. The coldness of her lower body and the heat of the man on top of her made her feel even more stimulated. The air was filled with the familiar yet indulgent scent of the two of them. Yang Qing's dragon horn began to rub between Lin Ruoshi's legs. The smooth liquid made Lin Ruoshi feel the man's terrifying size even more closely. Lin Ruoshi couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. There was a trace of fear in her blurry eyes. The woman used a soft, pleading tone and murmured, "Hubby, I'm scared." Yang Qing breathed heavily. The beauty's perfect body below him was already driving him crazy. If it wasn't for that moment of brewing his emotions, he would have already wreaked havoc. Hearing that the woman finally began to soften and be scared, Yang Qing didn't have any intention of stopping. The arrow on the bow had to be released. I said, "You will suffer, but you will also be happy." Before Lin Ruoshi could react, Yang Qing's waist suddenly rushed up. When a fire dragon drilled into the narrow path that was already filled with honey, it brought with it a soul-stirring tremor that went straight to the top of the two's heads. "Oh, ah!" Yang Qing sighed in extreme enjoyment. It sounded almost at the same time as Lin Ruoshi's suppressed low moans because of the tearing pain. When Yang Qing's entire clone entered the woman's body, the tears in the corner of Lin Ruoshi's eyes flowed even more freely. A strange feeling of being penetrated made Lin Ruoshi feel pain, but at the same time, it gave her a strong sense of fulfillment, and Yang Qing, who tightly held the woman and rushed to the bottom, was infinitely satisfied. This was not only a release of the body, but also a burden that had always been on the mind. No matter what the cause was, no matter what the process was, no matter what happened between the two of them, at the very least, he had finally joined together with the woman beneath him. After all, Lin Ruoshi hadn't had any sexual contact for more than a year. Even though the tunnel was smooth, it still seemed incomparably tight when he suddenly and intensely went deep. Just when Yang Qing noticed that Lin Ruoshi looked to be in pain and frowned, he felt a little pity in his heart. Another strange feeling came from the joint of the two of them. Yang Qing could clearly feel that his life root was actually wrapped by some special squirming in that warm world. Yang Qing couldn't help but shiver. Looking at the pitiful woman below him, who seemed to be unconscious and was looking at him with tears, Yang Qing couldn't help but hug Lin Ruoshi's face again and kiss it hard. "Darling Ruoshi, so you have this kind of unique skill? Is this your instinct or is it on purpose? You can even give me a massage in here?" Chapter 990. Lin Ruoshi was already stunned. It was as if all her strength had disappeared at this time. Her soft body was at the mercy of Yang Qing. Yang Qing looked at Lin Ruoshi, who was pouting and full of resentment. How could she do this consciously? It was clearly a woman's instinct to provide such a service. Yang Qing couldn't help but grin. This was a natural stunner. She was charming to the bone. Only when he entered her graceful body could he experience this kind of ecstasy. Without any experience, she could make him feel like he was sitting on the clouds. He just entered and moved a few times, and it was already so comfortable. Even though Yang Qing had a huge amount of experience in this area, he had never enjoyed such a sumptuous feast before. At this time, Yang Qing didn't have the mood to stop. As his waist swayed back and forth, the frequency began to increase. Lin Ruoshi just had a chance to breathe. When Yang Qing moved, the woman's fragrant soul almost flew out. This kind of surging impact that stirred up the soul and stimulated every cell in the body made Lin Ruoshi unable to extricate herself and let out an instinctive and shameful moan. Be gentle. It hurts, but Yang Qing didn't care so much. Every time he entered and exited, he could feel the special treatment that Lin Ruoshi's mysterious zone, the passage that he never got tired of, gave him. This kind of feeling of wrapping all the sensitive parts and giving you gentle and delicate care really fascinated Yang Qing. Gradually, Yang Qing's speed became faster and faster. When Lin Ruoshi gave up stopping and began to fall into a kind of confusion, Yang Qing was no longer satisfied with the position of face-to-face. The woman's soft and well-proportioned body was directly turned over by Yang Qing, and Lin Ruoshi fell on the desk. Yang Qing grabbed his wife's pair of plump and beautiful legs and began to wreak havoc. After all, it was not the first time. It was only because he had not experienced it for a long time that he felt pain at the beginning. After adapting to Yang Qing's size, Lin Ruoshi finally experienced pure pleasure after more than 10 minutes, feeling the man's majestic and domineering heat continuously entering and exiting her peach. Lin Ruoshi couldn't help but turn her head to look at Yang Qing's expression. When she discovered that Yang Qing was looking at her with an extremely intoxicated look, Lin Ruoshi felt as if she had eaten honey in her heart. Although it was their first real union, the two of them entered the state surprisingly quickly. She would indeed blush and be shy, but when Yang Qing needed to grab her body and cooperate, Lin Ruoshi didn't find it difficult to accept. Perhaps it was because they had been together for almost 2 years, and they had a lot of intimate contact on a daily basis. When the conditions were right, everything seemed to be very natural. Unknowingly, the two of them had moved from the desk to the floor-to-ceiling window on the side. Although they were in an extremely high position in the city, under normal circumstances, No one could see what was happening here unless they used binoculars, but Yang Qing still divided a bit of his attention to check if it was hidden. When he was sure that no one would see here and take advantage of his woman, Yang Qing then bravely pressed Lin Ruoshi against the thick tempered glass. Lin Ruoshi tightly wrapped her arms around Yang Qing's neck, and her two slender and elastic legs were clamped around the man's waist. After instinctively cooperating with Yang Qing, even she felt unbearably shy. Because the floor-to-ceiling window was designed to be oval, from her point of view, she could see the sky outside and the tall buildings outside. In this way, it was like doing such an indulgent thing in the face of the city in broad daylight. A trace of coldness flowed through the exposed white buttock. Because it was wet, it was particularly cold. The rich flow of water constantly dripped onto the wooden board on the ground. Not long after, there were several puddles on the ground. Realizing that all this was happening, such stimulation made Lin Ruoshi unable to extricate herself from the deep struggle in her heart. And Yang Qing's high-spirited body continuously sank to the bottom, as if he was using the steel gun to push the woman up, making Lin Ruoshi's whole body tremble every time. This kind of tireless and unlimited physical strength was not something ordinary couples would have, and ordinary women naturally couldn't experience. For the first time, Lin Ruoshi clearly experienced it. Only then did she realize how much a woman loved and hated this kind of thing. Yang Qing was like a crazy bull with no end to his stamina, causing her to fly into the sky again and again to release her climax. Her lower body tightened and trembled, but she still had no intention of giving up. The first 3 or 4 times at the peak made Lin Ruoshi enjoy it so much that she wanted to melt into the man's body. However, when she realized that the man still wanted more, Lin Ruoshi felt a sense of fear. Lin Ruoshi felt that her lower body was gradually becoming numb. She even suspected that her private parts had already swollen up. Hubby, stop. Rest for a while. Lin Ruoshi pleaded. Yang Qing's face was filled with excitement. To him, this little bit of physical strength was the same as doing nothing at all. It's only been an hour, at least another hour. Darling Ruoshi, so you still have this divine weapon in your body. It's so tight that I'm about to fly into the sky. Hiss. Oh, Lin Ruoshi was about to faint. She had already lost all feeling, but because of this, it was probably because it was especially tight after the swelling, making Yang Qing feel even more comfortable. After all, she had met with sweet dew after a long drought. If she had this kind of training normally, she would have been able to endure it, but suddenly, it was as fierce as a flood. How could she withstand it? Please. Hubby, I can't take it anymore. Lin Ruoshi whimpered. Her hair was in a mess, and her head was covered in sweat. Her black hair was wet and stuck to it. With her flushed face and shy appearance, how could she still have the demeanor of a female CEO? Yang Qing looked at the woman who had completely given in with extreme satisfaction, and forcefully slapped the woman's butt. Puh. Her bouncy buttocks even bounced a few times. Lin Ruoshi's pretty face was tender and alluring, as if she was a fairy that had descended to the mortal world, causing people to be dazzled. You always want to kick other women away, but with your performance, even an hour is tight. Other people can last for more than 2 hours, how can you compete with other people? Yang Qing said with a naughty smile. Lin Ruoshi pouted, as if she had become a pink bun. How can you mention other women at this time? Puh. Yang Qing slapped the other half of the woman's butt, causing Lin Ruoshi to cry out in alarm. How impudent! Who do I need to ask for your permission? This is the truth, I've been working until now, and I haven't even completed my first shot, and you already say that you can't do it. With your current state, you still hope to have children in the future? Lin Ruoshi felt wronged, thinking that this was not her problem. Yang Qing grinned as he placed Lin Ruoshi on the desk and pinched the woman's face. However, Ruoshi baby, you are still very outstanding. At least you make me feel more comfortable than other women. Yang Qing laughed. In the future, listen to your husband obediently, don't challenge my temper. You are my woman, so you are not allowed to see the man I hate. I am such an unreasonable person, you can call me overbearing or shameless, but you are my woman, so you have to listen to me. If you don't agree, that's fine, but no one can save you. In the end, you will be the one begging for mercy from me. Don't look at me so pitifully. Who told those idiots to not be able to beat me? Lin Ruashi wanted to cry, but no tears came out. This man was no longer thick-skinned. He had no intention of being shameless. You are a tyrant. That doesn't matter, as long as you are willing, you can call me whatever you want. Anyway, I have thought it through today, I will endure you, you are my wife. Even if I suppress you, you are still my wife, and instead of me living a sullen life, I might as well let others suffer. Yang Qing pinched Lin Ruashi's chin, and pecked her tender red lip. Lin Ruashi was already like an obedient Barbie doll. After giving everything to the man, she did not have any thoughts of refusing. My bride, rest for a while. Let's continue for another hour. At least let me finish one shot. Yang Qing blinked. Lin Ruashi was already powerless to resist. She pouted and said, I don't feel anything there anymore. It must be swollen. This pitiful look was clearly telling Yang Qing to let her go. However, how could Yang Qing do as the woman wished? He smiled indifferently and said, That's a small matter. Have you forgotten that I'm the best at healing wounds? Come, let me touch you. I'll help you reduce the swelling inside and outside. Lin Ruashi opened her watery eyes wide. Without waiting for her to stop him, Yang Qing's hand had already firmly grabbed onto the sacred ground. Lin Ruashi's entire body quivered, and she completely fell onto Yang Qing's body. Her legs straightened, and she began to tremble, being teased by a man's hand on her most private part. Lin Ruashi once again lost everything. After Yang Qing eliminated all the discomfort of the woman, what followed was naturally a new round of waves. The entire office was filled with a thick sense of spring. After more than an hour, Yang Qing's boiling essence was injected into a peaceful place. Lin Ruashi was already on the verge of collapse as she squinted her beautiful eyes. Her delicate body trembled as she fell into a deep sleep. Only then did Yang Qing reveal a gentle smile in satisfaction. He held the woman in his arms and gently kissed his wife's forehead. Chapter 991. Perhaps it was because she hadn't had a good rest for the past 2 days. Coupled with the intense exercise, Lin Ruashi had been lying on the soft leather sofa in her office, sleeping until the evening. Zhao Hongyan came to look for her once, but Yang Qing told her he was sleeping. She didn't think much of it, leaving the documents she needed to deal with on Lin Ruashi's desk before leaving quietly. Lin Ruashi's clothes had already been put back on. When she woke up, she looked around in a daze, but when she saw Yang Qing sitting on her chair using her computer, she suddenly remembered what had happened. The woman blushed at the thought of her debauchery in the afternoon, cursing herself for being so embarrassing. What was going on? Lin Ruashi didn't think that it was a bad thing, regardless of whether it was done out of her own free will or willingly. After all, she had taken the initiative to sleep with him before, but after Yang Qing insisted on a wedding, the process was a little complicated, but it was still in the planning stage. The man's method and location did drive her crazy, but when she thought about it carefully, it was inconsiderate to have dinner alone with Li Jianhe right after their wedding. Who asked her husband to be a big bad guy full of violent factors? Sitting on the sofa for a while, seeing Yang Qing staring at the computer screen without looking at her, Lin Ruashi couldn't help but be curious about what the man was doing. Putting on her shoes, she slowly walked to Yang Qing's side. When she saw the image on the computer screen, Lin Ruashi was immediately furious. Who told you to use my computer to play games? Lin Ruashi said angrily. At that moment, Yang Qing was using her office computer to play a competitive battle game. Because of his computer-precise skills, coupled with his meticulous control, the hero Yang Qing controlled was especially flirtatious. Amidst the dazzling collisions of skills, Yang Qing continuously beheaded players. The 5 players on the other side were already cursing loudly, thinking that Yang Qing was using cheats. However, Yang Qing ignored them and continued to kill. Hearing Lin Ruoshi's voice, Yang Qing glanced at her and then immediately returned to his game excitedly. "What are you making a fuss about? You usually just work and read some documents. Why did you have to buy such a high-end computer? I can only use it to play games." Yang Qing chuckled. "That brat Yuanyi is quite sensible, knowing to recommend a new game to me." Lin Ruoshi gritted her teeth, turned around and turned off the power button on the floor. "Hey!" Yang Qing shouted, but it was too late. The computer had already been turned off. Yang Qing suddenly looked depressed and said, "Honey, what are you doing? I'm considered to have skipped the competition midway. I'll have my points deducted and I'll have a bad record. You're so competitive in a game. You don't even feel anything when you kill people and break the law." Lin Ruoshi coldly snorted. "How can this be the same? Playing games is related to a man's dignity. If I'm like this, they'll think that I'm afraid of running away." Yang Qing said seriously, "Do you want to open a game company for you? You can make your own games and play by yourself." Yang Qing did seem to be interested. "This suggestion is not bad, I can consider it." Lin Ruoshi's face was still red. Seeing that Yang Qing didn't seem to have any intention of mentioning what happened just now, she finally couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "Don't you have anything to say to me?" Yang Qing was at a loss. "What do I want to say to you? Oh." Yang Qing slapped his forehead and looked out the window. It was already dark and full of bright lights. "Yes, it's late. You should be hungry. Let's go eat dinner. I called Mother Wang, we'll eat out tonight." Lin Ruoshi felt a little disappointed and a little anxious at the same time. She pretended to be calm and said, "Are you laughing at me in your heart? Laughing at me? Why?" Yang Qing showed a trace of surprise. Lin Ruoshi pursed her thin lips. "Do you think I'm very, what?" Yang Qing asked. "It's..." Lin Ruoshi took a deep breath and said, "You think I'm very slutty. I didn't want to let you before, but it became like that again." Her voice became softer and softer, and the woman's face was so red that it could drip juice. She shyly lowered her head, and her hair covered her face. Yang Qing was slightly stunned, and then smiled embarrassedly. A little. Lin Ruoshi suddenly looked up, and couldn't care less about being shy. "Don't talk about me like that. It's all your fault. Do you know how scary you were just now? How could I resist?" Yang Qing hurriedly stopped the woman's words and said with a bitter smile, "I'm not done yet. Although someone was a little bold just now, as a husband, I like it very much, and it's not something that immoral. You're happy, I'm happy, and it's also perfectly justifiable. Is it worth it?" When Lin Ruoshi heard that, she thought that it was right. It was only the first time she did something that a husband and wife would do, so there was nothing to be ashamed of. Perhaps those vixens were 100 times more flirtatious. Lin Ruoshi thought sourly, and didn't feel so ashamed anymore. Yang Qing tried to hold back his laughter. Actually, he had already expected that Lin Ruoshi would definitely be embarrassed about what happened just now with her thin skin. Pretending to be especially casual like this, the woman wouldn't be too embarrassed, and she would be able to walk out of it quickly. "If there's no problem, let's go eat." Yang Qing reluctantly looked at the computer that was turned off, and wondered if he should get a high-end computer at home. Lin Ruoshi untied the knot in her heart and calmly smiled and touched her hair. "My hair is messy, wait for a moment." Because she basically didn't need to put on makeup, she only needed to tidy up a little before she could go out. After letting go of her waterfall-like long hair, she simply tied it up. This seemingly ordinary action, for some reason, at this moment, it was done with a bit more gentleness and beauty than usual. Yang Qing was slightly dazed, only feeling that at this moment, the languid charm that the woman emitted was so breathtaking. When Lin Ruoshi finished tidying up her appearance, She realized that Yang Qing was looking at her with a particularly infatuated gaze. At the same time, she felt a little sweet in her heart and said with some amusement, "Why is it as if you're seeing it for the first time? Is it strange?" "It's very strange. How can a married woman become more and more beautiful, and I can't get tired of looking at her?" Yang Qing sked inside. "Ms. Lin Ruoshi, you can't do this. If people outside see you, Yulei's cosmetics will all be unable to sell, and their confidence will be directly destroyed. How can they still have the energy to put on makeup?" Glib tongue. Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at him, picked up her bag and walked out first. Because it was already time to get off work, the two went downstairs together, and on the way out of the company, they almost didn't meet anyone. Sitting directly in Yang Cheng's BMW X6, listening to the evening radio program, the two of them were in a rare relaxed mood, like a young couple in an ordinary family after work. After arriving near the gourmet street, after parking the car, the two of them held hands, shopping while looking for a suitable restaurant. Originally, Lin Ruoshi didn't like lively places, but after walking the streets with Yang Qing a few times, she gradually got used to it. Moreover, her mood had improved, and she was also a lot more cheerful. After receiving the nourishment of love dew, the woman walking on the street had fused her original elegant and refined appearance with her current bright and gentle appearance, making her exceptionally resplendent and moving. Countless gazes swept over the two of them. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Ruoshi was used to being the center of attention in the crowd, it would have been difficult for her to even walk. When passing by a dumpling restaurant, Yang Qing stopped and suddenly asked, "Ruoshi, is the dumpling doll I gave you still there?" Lin Ruoshi immediately nodded a little awkwardly, "Yes." "Oh, I thought that when you were angry at me, you would vent your anger on the doll I gave you." "It seems like I'm too narrow-minded," Yang Qing said embarrassedly. Lin Ruoshi thought to herself, "I didn't really vent my anger, I just let that doll be kicked by me every day." Of course, Lin Ruoshi wouldn't say it out loud. At the same time, she started to plan in her heart. After returning home today, she had to tidy up the room, but she had so many things, especially the various dolls and cute little things that she had collected, how could she bear to take them away? As they walked, Lin Ruoshi wondered if she should tidy up a new bedroom. After all, if nothing unexpected happened in the future, they would have to sleep together. Thinking about it, Lin Ruoshi's face started to heat up. What was wrong with her? Why did she always think about sleeping with a man? Just as the woman was lost in her thoughts and didn't know where she was going, she suddenly heard a delicate, crisp voice shouting from behind, "Mom!" Chapter 992. Lin Ruoshi's delicate body trembled. All of her thoughts stopped for a short period of time, and then a burst of joy suddenly surged. She hurriedly turned around and looked at the little girl in the blue dress who was running over happily. "Lan Lan?" Yang Qing only felt that Lin Ruoshi suddenly took her hand away from his palm. When he turned around, the woman had already bent down, opened her arms, and hugged a familiar and cute little girl. "Mom!" Lan Lan called out again in a childish voice. The girl was wearing a blue dress as usual, but the difference was that as the temperature dropped, the girl was wearing white cotton socks and red leather shoes. Her black hair was loose, setting off her snow-white skin. Her big black eyes were filled with happiness after seeing Lin Ruoshi. After Lin Ruoshi picked up the girl, she very naturally kissed the girl on the cheek, only to smell the sweet smell of a child's milk. "Lan Lan, why are you here? Mommy misses you so much." Lin Ruoshi had always been worried about Lan Lan, who was taken away by that grandfather, but she had no way of finding her. She didn't expect the girl to magically appear in front of her. Lan Lan hugged Lin Ruoshi's neck and pouted. It was grandfather who asked Lan Lan and the nanny to come here, so that Lan Lan could find her mother. "Your grandfather?" Lin Ruoshi was stunned. Didn't that strange middle-aged man not allow her to adopt Lan Lan? The nanny, Min Wan, who followed them, was panting, as if catching up to Lan Lan was a very strenuous task. What made the passers-by look at was that Min Wan was also helping to carry a large travel bag. No one knew what was inside, but it was indeed eye-catching to carry such a bag on the street. Seeing Lin Ruoshi and Yang Qing, Min Wan smiled a little embarrassedly. "Miss Lin, we meet again." Master suddenly said that he was going out for a period of time, and he didn't know when he would be back. Before he left, he brought me and Lon Lon here, and said that you guys would stay here, and let Lon Lon stay by your side for this period of time. I've brought my and Lon Lan's clothes with me. She pointed at her big bag as she spoke. Lin Ruoshi became more and more curious what was going on. As for Yang Qing, who had been watching this scene, he finally couldn't help but say, "Ruoshi darling, you've never been pregnant, what kind of mother are you?" Lin Ruoshi's face turned red, and she glanced left and right to confirm that no passers-by nearby heard, then said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I like Lon Lon, so what's wrong with Lon Lon calling me mother? She's a pitiful child, so do you have any sympathy for her?" "I do have sympathy, but if this child calls you mother, then wouldn't I be her father?" Yang Qing said in a dilemma. "This child is like a small cannonball, strange, I'm worried that trouble will follow." Previously, in order to test her, Yang Qing had seen Lanlin's terrifying explosive power. Although the girl was indeed very obedient to Lin Ruoshi, what kind of background did such a magical girl have? This made Yang Qing very worried. But when Lin Ruoshi heard that Lon Lon would be handed over to her, she was already extremely happy. How could she care so much? She lightly snorted and said, "Even if there's trouble, isn't there still you? If you can't even protect your own wife and daughter, then that's too shameful." What a joke! How could I wait? That's not right. You're my wife, but I didn't say that this child is my daughter. Yang Qing grabbed his hair. "I'm clean as ice and clean as jade, I keep my chastity like jade. Don't slander me." Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes, not wanting to pay attention to this rascal. "Bad uncle, you're shameless." Lon Lon pouted and hugged Lin Ruoshi's pink neck as she muttered. Because she was previously controlled by Yang Qing, the little girl knew that she couldn't beat Yang Qing in a fight, so she could only provoke this bad uncle with words. Yang Qing was just about to raise his fist when he saw Lin Ruoshi's bone-chilling glare, as if she was deeply protective of her child. She was very serious, causing Yang Qing to immediately lose his temper. The ruthlessness from before in the afternoon was also caused by his anger. Now that he had calmed down, in front of his wife, Yang Qing still couldn't muster up any courage. He was afraid that this was the end of his life. "All right, consider it my bad luck to meet such a little devil." Yang Qing curled his lips and called out to the smiling Minwan, "Since you're here, come eat dinner with us." Minwan thought that this capable man turned out to be a henpecked man. She wanted to laugh out loud, but she held it in. Subsequently, under Lanlin's request, the four of them entered a northern snack restaurant. After sitting down, the waiter naturally passed the menu to Lin Ruoshi. It seemed that because he had seen many customers, he was quite discerning and knew which one could make the decision. Lin Ruoshi didn't refuse. She took the menu and scanned it a few times. Considering how big Lanlin's belly was, and Yang Qing was a foodie, she directly said to the waiter, "Give me the most frequently ordered snacks here, a total of 20 different types." The waiter, who was holding a pen to take notes, almost dropped his jaw when he heard this. He carefully looked at the woman in front of him, who was much more beautiful than any superstar, and found that Lin Ruoshi was very serious. He couldn't help but ask, "Miss, do you really order this much?" Lin Ruoshi knitted her brows. "Of course. I'm afraid it's not worth it. It's very expensive, and it's a waste of food." The waiter kindly persuaded. Lin Ruoshi wasn't someone who liked to waste time. She directly said, "Can I pay first before you serve the dishes?" The waiter was instantly speechless. He hurriedly shook his head and ran away as if he was frightened. He seemed to have said a few words to the restaurant's manager, and after the manager nodded in agreement, they settled the order. Not long after a table full of food was served, under the shocked gazes of the surrounding customers, Yang Qing and Lan Lan began to eat and drink. Yang Qing's manner of wolfing down the food was not refined at all. He ate a bun and 3 to 4 wontons in one bite. As for Lan Lan, it was as if she was worried that someone would steal her food. Every time she finished a bowl, she would even finish the dumpling soup. At the same time, she would lick her lips with her tender little tongue. It was quite cute, but at the same time, it was hard to believe that after eating that big bowl of food, the little girl did not show any signs of being full. Seeing the two gluttons, one big and one small, sweep the table like crazy, Lin Ruoshi and the nanny Min Wan did not show too much surprise. After all, they were well aware of the strength of these two people. Lin Ruoshi looked at the way the two of them ate and the way they enjoyed themselves after eating. She felt that they were quite similar, only the difference in size was a little big. However, Lin Ruoshi herself did not have such a big appetite. After eating a third of a bowl of lamb stew, she lost her appetite. Yang Qing saw Lin Ruoshi put down her spoon and could not help but chew while opening his mouth. "Wife, this is a waste, you will be punished by the heavens." Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at him. "Eat your food, why do you care so much?" "Mom, you can't waste it," Grandpa said, hoeing at noon, sweat dripping into the soil. Lan Lan even quoted an ancient poem to persuade her. Lin Ruoshi blushed a little. How could she be taught a lesson by her little daughter? She looked at the stew and mutton in the bowl with a troubled expression. "But Mom really can't eat any more." "Say it earlier." "I'll eat it." Yang Qing happily took Lin Ruoshi's bowl and finished the rest of the stew in a few scoops. For the first time, Lan Lan giggled at Yang Qing. "Bad uncle is a good child." Yang Qing winked at the little girl, suddenly feeling that this little girl with a bright smile was quite similar to him. Of course, perhaps it was because they were both big eaters. Under the silent gaze of many people, a large table of food was wiped clean. This made the waiters a little unable to bear it, and they looked at the two of them with incomparable admiration. Lin Ruoshi ordered some orange juice and gave it to Lan Lan to drink. Seeing her daughter's satisfied expression, she felt especially happy in her heart. "Lan Lan, did your grandfather say anything else before he left?" Lin Ruoshi was afraid that the man would come back and take Lan Lan away, so she had to ask. Lan Lan tilted her head and thought for a while, but still shook her head. "Grandpa, just let Lan Lan be with Mom." A strange look flashed across Yang Qing's eyes and he asked, "Ruoshi, have you seen Lanlan's grandfather?" Lin Ruoshi nodded and repeated the previous time, when Lanlan's grandfather suddenly appeared and took Lan Lan away. At that time, he said that if I want to adopt Lan Lan, I must separate from you and divorce you. Now, he suddenly sent Lan Lan over. I really don't understand. Lin Ruoshi frowned. Min Wan, who was at the side, saw that both husband and wife were full of doubts, and couldn't help but whisper with a smile, "Mr. Yang, Miss Lin, actually. Master told me to say something." Chapter 993. Lin Ruoshi gently said, "Min Wan, if you have anything to say, just say it. Don't be so reserved." Min Wan smiled gratefully. She thought to herself that such a rich family could treat a little nanny from a mountain village so peacefully. The old master had indeed chosen the right person. When the master left, he was in a hurry, but he said that if he didn't come back within a month, then Lan Lan would be completely raised by the two of you. In the future, he would no longer ask about Lanlan's matters, and Lan Lan would truly be Miss Lin's daughter. "Really?" Lin Ruoshi's face lit up, but then she asked with a strange expression, "Could it be that Lanlan's grandfather went to do something dangerous?" Min Wan shook her head helplessly. "I don't know about that. I can't ask too much about the master's matters." Yang Qing looked at Lin Ruoshi's excited face and couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. It seemed that this woman was worried that Lanlan's grandfather would not come back. However, it was hard for Yang Qing to understand why Lin Ruoshi valued this little girl so much and treated her as her own. Even if he liked children's personalities, this was too much. Lon Lon, on the other hand, was drinking her orange juice and listening to the adults talking. She didn't interrupt and kept sucking on the juice with her cheeks puffed up. She finished the big glass in no time and didn't care about anything else. Lin Ruoshi touched her daughter's soft hair and felt that the more she looked at this pink and jade-carved child, the cuter she felt. She couldn't help but pinch Lanlin's little face, while Lon Lon smiled sweetly at her mother. Just as Lin Ruoshi was about to ask Lon Lon if she wanted to continue drinking and eating, the phone on the table rang. Lin Ruoshi picked it up, looked at the number and said to Yang Qing, "It's from home." Yang Qing nodded. "Why did you pick up the phone and report to me?" Lin Ruoshi blushed and wondered why she told Yang Qing, as if she was worried that the man would misunderstand. "Hello, Mom, what's wrong?" Lin Ruoshi picked up the phone. "Ruoshi, you should be with Yang Qing." "Yes, we just finished dinner." "Mom, I have something to do." "Aya, don't talk about it. Hurry up and come back with Yang Qing." Hui Lin is back, and Director Yu Shuo is here too. They have something to discuss with you, Guo Shuohua said happily. It didn't sound like a bad thing, so Lin Ruoshi agreed and told Yang Qing about it. Hui Lin is back? Is her tour over? Yang Qing asked. Lin Ruoshi thought for a while and said, "I think so. I remember that her tour in Japan and the US was cancelled because of the public opinion in China." Yang Chen nodded in realization. He occasionally saw the news, and there were indeed a lot of reports about the maritime disputes between Japan and the US and China. At the heart of the storm, it was indeed not suitable for Huilin, who was the hot little queen of China, to hold a concert in those two places. This kind of news would only attract the public's attention. Yang Qing didn't have the mood to care about it. There would be no result in the end, unless there was a war. If there was a war, Yang Qing would be happy. He had a lot of weapons in his possession, and they could all be put to good use. War was the most profitable thing. As long as they didn't provoke him, he would be able to make a fortune quietly. Minwan said excitedly, "Miss Lin, Miss Hui Lin is the famous singer, Hui Lin, right?" Lin Ruoshi nodded. "Minwan, you know her too?" "Of course. I thought she looked familiar the last time I saw her, but I didn't believe it was her. After I went home, I thought about it carefully. Miss Lin is the CEO of Yulei International, and Miss Hui Lin is from Yulei Entertainment. I regret not asking her for an autograph. She sings so well." Minwan was so excited that her eyes were filled with tears. "Every time she sings a sad song, I always think of the days in my hometown, and I can't help but cry." Lin Ruoshi and Yang Qing looked at each other. They didn't expect Hui Lin to be so influential. Even a nanny who took care of a little girl all day knew her songs, and she was such a hardcore fan. "Ask Hui Lin to give you an autograph when we get back. But don't make it too awkward for her. She is like family to us." Yang Qing smiled. Min Wan hurriedly nodded. Being able to see her idol from time to time was enough for her. Because of the traffic jam, it took them almost 40 minutes to reach home. When they entered the living room, they saw Guo Shuohua and Mother Wang were already chatting with Director Yu Shuo. Hui Lin was chatting with Jinxiu, whom they hadn't seen for a while. Although the school reopened in early September, the military training started first. Jinxiu lived in Zhonghai, so she only needed to attend the training during the day and go home at night. When Yang Qing saw the students at home, he remembered that he hadn't visited Jinxiu since the school reopened. The little girl had been handling everything by herself. As her guardian, he had to make some time to check on Jinxiu, lest Jinxiu became an honest girl who was bullied by others. Guo Shuohua and the others were surprised to see the four of them. No one expected that Lon Lon and Minwan, the nanny who had left earlier, would come back. Guo Shuohua was especially surprised. She was still in Yanjin at that time and had never seen this little girl before. She looked at Yang Qing with suspicion. Yang Qing shook hands with Director Yu Shuo, while Lin Ruoshi nodded and greeted them. After that, they sat down. Although director Yu Shuo felt that the sudden appearance of the little girl made everyone feel strange, he didn't ask much since he was only there to talk about business. He said with a smile, "It's a little presumptuous of me to disturb you at night, but I'm a straightforward person and I don't want to miss such a good opportunity. That's why I'm here to talk about the film collaboration with you two." Yang Chen recalled that he did mention it before. It seemed like this guy was going to shoot a xianxia movie. As the best director in Cannes and Tokyo film festivals, Yu Shuo was like the sun in the sky. His movie would definitely receive a lot of attention. "Director Yu wants Hui Er to participate in the movie? How did you know, Mr. Yang?" "I'm here to talk about it. Recently, I've been busy trying to find the female lead. No matter how hard I look, I can't find a more suitable actress than Miss Lin Hui. But Miss Lin Hui has been on a world tour. When she heard that her schedule in Japan and the US was cancelled, she came here immediately. Miss Lin Hui said that there's no need to go through the management company. As long as the two of you agree, she can do it," Yu Shuo said. Yang Qing looked at Hui Lin and asked with a smile, "Do you like making movies? It's up to you." Hui Lin blinked and said hesitantly, "I don't have any professional training and I don't know how to make a movie. I'm worried that I'll mess it up." No. I've seen Miss Lin Hui's concert. You can get into the mood easily. You just need to change your singing mode to your acting role. With your natural charisma, you'll be able to connect with the female lead. Everything will go smoothly," Yu Shuo quickly persuaded. Hui Lin struggled and looked at Lin Ruoshi helplessly. Lin Ruoshi listened quietly and said in a clear voice, "If that's the case, let's give it a try. Director Yu came to invite you personally. If it doesn't work out, I believe Director Yu won't blame us." Yang Qing nodded. "But Director Yu, let's make this clear. Hui Er's appearance fee is very high." Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes at the man. Nothing had happened yet and he was already raising the fee. Yu Shuo smiled bitterly. But with Hui Lin's current popularity, it was impossible to give her a newcomer's fee. He might not be able to invite her for anything less than 10 million yuan. After a brief discussion, it was finally confirmed. As for the specifics, they could sign the document after discussing it with the people from the entertainment company. The filming would start in mid-September, so Huilin would have some time to prepare and familiarize herself with the script. After sending Yu Shuo off, Guo, who had been quiet all this while, finally asked, "Yang Qing, Ruoshi, whose child is this?" When the adults were talking, Lan sat on Min Wan's lap obediently. The little girl who had eaten her fill rubbed her belly and dozed off obediently. Mother Wang and the rest smiled and explained, "Shuihua, this child is Lan. You didn't know her because you weren't here. She's Miss' adopted daughter." "Adopted daughter?" Guoshuahua's mouth was so wide open that an egg could fit in it. After listening to Wang Ma's recount of the incident, Guoshuahua was a little upset and said, "Ruoshi, this isn't a good idea. You're still so young, married for less than 2 years, and you haven't even had a child. If you adopt a 4 or 5-year-old child, people will gossip about you." Chapter 994. Lin Ruoshi took Lan from Min Wan's arms and looked at her daughter lovingly. "It's okay. I don't care about those things. I will treat Lan as my own daughter. I feel that we are congenial." As a mother, Guoshuahua could easily tell that Lin Ruoshi loved this girl to death. The radiance in her eyes was a strong maternal love. Guoshuahua looked at Yang Qing helplessly. "Son, what do you think?" Yang Qing smiled understandingly. "Mom, I know you are worried about Ruoshi being bad-mouthed behind her back. But I have to be honest with you. Based on the current progress, it will take at least 10 years for us to have a child. You want to be a grandmother. Don't tell me you want to delay it for so long." 10 years. Guoshuahua screamed. She was speechless like a statue. Yang Qing nodded and told Guoshuahua about his physical condition. Even Mother Wang, Hui Lin, and Jinxiu were shocked. "So, instead of waiting for a long time, I think it's better to raise Lanlan as my daughter. Ruashi likes her very much. I think this girl is a little similar to me. Look, she is so cute. She is worthy of being my daughter. Yang Qing reached out to touch Lanlan's face. Lanlan pouted and wanted to bite Yang Qing. Bad uncle. Don't touch me. Chubby girl, don't call me uncle. You should call me dad. Everyone was speechless. Is this cute? Is this similar? Lanlan pouted unhappily. Liar uncle. Lanlan is not a chubby girl. You are not fat. Your appetite is about the same as mine. Look at you. Your face and hands are full of meat. Yang Qing pinched Lanlan's tender arm again. After being mentioned by Yang Qing, everyone noticed that although Lanlan did not look fat, her body was full of meat. But because of her agility, she looked light. Lanlan was so angry that her face turned into a bun. She snorted and leaned her head on Lin Ruashi's shoulder, ignoring Yang Qing. Lin Ruashi smiled helplessly. This is a child's baby fat. You are an adult and you are fighting with a little girl. Don't embarrass yourself. Who told her to always call me uncle? If I'm the uncle and you're the mother, then wouldn't our relationship as husband and wife be a mess? Yang Qing said gloomily. Guxiuhua quickly stopped. All right, since you guys have no objections, then I have no objections. But didn't you say that Lanlan still has a grandfather? If Lanlan's grandfather comes back in a month, what should we do? Mentioning this matter, Lin Ruashi had a solemn expression and felt a little uneasy. The nanny Minwan shrank to the side, not daring to interrupt. Yang Qing looked at his wife's worried expression and sighed. If he comes back, I will talk to him. Even if I let him live with me, I will leave Lanlan behind. Lin Ruashi raised her head in surprise. Hubby, is what you said true? We already said that she's our daughter. Don't tell me she's going to be raised by someone else? Yang Qing, on the other hand, had other thoughts in his heart. That Lanlan's grandfather was clearly someone with an extraordinary cultivation, so he was very curious about his background. Since Yang Qing had already said so, no one had any other thoughts. When encountering such an uncontrollable matter, it was up to Yang Qing to make the final decision. Afterwards, Guxiuhua asked Min Wan a few more things about Lanlan and also learned about Min Wan's past. With her experience, she quickly became friendly with Min Wan and Lanlan. When it was almost late at night, it was time to arrange for Min Wan and Lanlan's sleep. Because the mansion that Lin Ruashi bought was huge, there were quite a few empty guest rooms, so there was naturally no need to worry about space. The key was how to sleep. Lin Ruashi immediately thought of the matter between herself and Yang Qing, and her face was a little hot as she secretly glanced at Yang Qing. Coincidentally, Yang Qing was also looking at her with a bashful face. Lanlan wants to sleep with mommy. Without waiting for Yang Qing to speak, Lanlan had already cried out. Lin Ruashi was startled for a moment, but then she heaved a sigh of relief. She smiled and picked up Lanlan. Then Lanlan must be obedient and sleep on time. Hey, little fat girl, what are you fighting with me for? That's my wife, go sleep with your Auntie Minwan. Yang Qing was not going to let it go, and immediately stood up to fight. Lanlan hugged Lin Ruashi tightly. No, without mommy, Lanlan won't sleep. Hey, if you don't want to sleep, then don't sleep for the whole night if you have the guts. Yang Qing was really going to argue with the little girl. Min Wan showed a helpless expression and whispered, Mr. Yang, please be merciful and let Lanlan sleep with Miss Lin. This child is different from others. She can really not sleep for a few days. If she doesn't sleep, all of us won't be able to live in peace. Ah! Yang Qing was stunned, not understanding the situation. Lanlan pouted her little mouth arrogantly. That's right, that's right. Lin Ruashi looked at the stunned man with amusement, and told him about how Lanlan's energy was different from ordinary children. This was the first time Guxiuhua heard it, and she was also very surprised, but at the same time she caught a key point and asked curiously, Yang Qing, don't you sleep in separate rooms with Ruashi? Why today? Yang Qing patted his chest proudly. Mom, today we… Don't say it! Lin Ruashi's face was so red that juice was about to drip out. How could this man say such things so easily? Wasn't he ashamed to say such words in front of his mother? And he did it in the office. Only then did Yang Qing shut his mouth, and Shanshan smiled. But Guoshuahua, even Jinxiu and Hui Lin had already understood the meaning of it, and they couldn't help but smile at Lin Ruashi. Jinxiu even stepped forward and patted Lin Ruashi's shoulder. Sister Ruashi, congratulations. This congratulation made Lin Ruashi so embarrassed that she wanted to put Lan Lan down, turn around, and strangle Jinxiu to death. Guoshuahua chuckled. Her son and daughter-in-law were finally together, and the family should be much more peaceful in the future. Since Lan Lan has such a problem, then take care of the child first. Yang Qing, just bear with it, it's just a small matter, think of a way to solve it yourself. Yang Qing wanted to cry. He just had a taste of beauty, and now his wife was snatched away by a chubby girl. Grandma is the best. Suddenly, Lan Lan clapped her hands and called out in a childish voice. Guoshuahua was stunned at first, then asked in disbelief, Lan Lan, what did you call me? Grandma, Mommy's mommy, that's Grandma, Grandpa told me. Lan Lan blinked her eyes and said. Guoshuahua felt as if she had eaten honey, a sweet feeling surged into her heart. Although she felt awkward to have a relationship with the man she had never met before, she only felt that the cute girl in front of her was like a little angel, and her long-awaited desire was finally fulfilled. It was a pity that her real husband, Yang Pejuan, was already ruined, and the fate between the two of them ended a long time ago. Otherwise, they could still enjoy a family life together. Although she was adopted, Lan Lan was really cute, and when she called her grandma, Guoshuahua couldn't help but fall in love with this child. Lan Lan is so sensible. Guoshuahua hugged Lan Lan lovingly, and rubbed her forehead on Lan Lan's forehead, blushing. Yang Cheng's heart skipped a beat, and he thought to himself, this is bad, my status in the family isn't high, and now even the chubby girl who just entered the family is more pampered than me. In the end, after a series of laughter, they finally decided to let Minwan sleep in a guest room alone, and Lan Lan would sleep with Lin Ruashi. Lin Ruashi's bed was very big and Lan Lan was small, so it didn't matter at all. As for taking care of her during the day, Minwan would continue to be responsible for it, and Mother Wang and Guoshuahua would be able to help at home. Normally, a child like Lan Lan should go to kindergarten, but she didn't have a specific identity certificate, and she didn't know if Lan Lan's grandfather would come back in a month, so she planned to apply for it after a month. As one of the richest women in Zhonghai, even without Yang Qing, Lin Ruashi could handle her daughter's identity and school matters with just a word. After waiting for the women of the family to go upstairs to wash up and sleep, Yang Qing was downstairs watching the evening news in loneliness. Looking at the time, it was almost midnight, and Yang Qing slowly walked upstairs, but he just took a few steps. Suddenly a strange and arrogant divine sense came from outside. Yang Qing frowned. Someone actually came to his door in the middle of the night to provoke him? Chapter 995. In just a flash, Yang Qing had already appeared in a man-made forest garden to the south of the courtyard in the western suburbs. Surrounded by cypress trees, there was a pond. In the middle of the circular pointed red pavilion, a man and a woman were already standing there. From the way these two were dressed, it was obvious that they were not roaming in the secular world. The man was wearing a gray checkered robe and his hair was tied up in a bun. On his back was a 3-feet-long mountain wrapped in black cloth, giving him an elegant and handsome feeling. The woman was wearing a green robe and had long hair. Her appearance was passable, but the arrogance and indifference on her face made people feel uncomfortable. The man was at the late stage of soul formation and the woman was at the middle and late stage of soul formation, which was about the same. The cold and arrogant divine sense just now was naturally emitted by the woman. When Yang Qing was sizing up the two, the man and the woman were also sizing up Yang Qing. When they discovered that they could not see through Yang Qing's cultivation, they revealed a look of surprise. Yang Cheng's gaze lingered on the waists of the two, and he was surprised to see that there was a token with the word Huang hanging on their waists. It was exactly the same as the token with the word Huang on the sloppy Taoist that he had encountered before. It seemed that these two were Hongmeng Huang rank figures. Previously, the black-robed Hongmeng messenger suddenly died, so it was reasonable for Hongmeng to send people to check. However, looking at the two, they did not seem to be friendly. "You are Yang Qing?" The woman spoke first and asked coldly. Yang Qing secretly thought that these two's cultivation was obviously not as good as his, and even far from it, but they still looked so arrogant. It seemed that they did not put him in their eyes because they had the entire Hongmeng behind them. Thinking of this, Yang Qing was a bit angry. It was fine if people who were stronger than him were so disdainful, but these two people who relied on their master's power dared to be so arrogant. He must not let them have it easy. "Since you've found this place, do you still need confirmation?" Yang Qing said with a faint smile. "Answer my question honestly. We don't have time to waste with you." The woman frowned. "Let me ask you, was Tianyin monk killed by Yanbuan?" Yang Qing found it funny and said, "Out of nowhere, I still don't know who you are. Who is Monk Tianyin?" "Don't play dumb. We are the special envoys from Hongmeng to thoroughly investigate Yanbuan's case. I'm Lu Huading, and this is my senior brother, Hao Changfeng. The two of us represent Hongmeng to interrogate you. The monk we're talking about is naturally the monk in the black kasaya. Tianyin was the current Hongmeng emissary. He was murdered in Yanjing within a few months of his departure, and his soul tablet was broken. This incident has alarmed the elders of Hongmeng. You'd better tell us everything that happened at that time to avoid trouble," Lu Huading snorted coldly. "Soul tablet? So there was such a thing. No wonder he knew immediately after a person died. You should ask General Kai of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade about this. Isn't his words more convincing?" Yang Qing said. "Kai Yunqing said that you killed Yanbuan with an absolute advantage, and used the power of thunder to kill Yanbuan. Is that true?" Lu Huading asked suspiciously. Yang Qing didn't deny it and nodded. "Of course, General Kai wouldn't lie to you for no reason. The power of thunder, the power of thunder is one of the most powerful divine powers in the world. If you can really control the power of thunder, why didn't you kill Yanbuan first? Instead, you waited for our Hongmeng emissary to die before you made your move?" Lu Huading's eyes flickered. Yang Qing smiled. "That's my fault? Then why don't you ask that idiot monk why he went to die when he obviously couldn't win?" "You! What did you say? Idiot?" Lu Huading was furious. Hao Changfeng gestured for his junior sister to calm down and asked, "All right, even if Tianyin monk miscalculated and was killed by Yanbuan, why are his demon slayer wand and other treasures nowhere to be found? Didn't Kai Yunqing tell you that they were all destroyed by Yanbuan's antimatter energy?" "That's what he said, but he's just a mortal. Naturally, he couldn't see through the tricks of some cultivators. As far as we know, you inherited the divinity of the previous Pluto and possess the power of the law of space. If you wanted to hide those treasures in a parallel space, they wouldn't be able to find out." "You suspect me of stealing the treasures?" Yang Qing cursed in his heart. "I do want those treasures, the more the better. But the problem is that they were really destroyed by that dog Yanbuan. Not only that, he used the Qianyuan Tiangang bracelet in an emergency, but it was also blasted into pieces. To tell you the truth, only the Kasaya, the shield, and the Demon Slayer wand belonged to Tianyin monk. The other two were lent to him before he was appointed as the envoy of Hongmeng. If you keep them for yourself, it's the same as stealing from Hongmeng." Yang Qing thought that this group of cultivators did not seem to be rich. Why did they have to borrow the treasures to keep up appearances? Xiao Qiqing once said that the hidden families were the real nouveau riche. It seemed that it was true. Destroyed is destroyed. If you want me to think that I stole them, there's nothing I can say." Yang Qing shrugged. Lu Huading's expression darkened. Don't think that you're so great just because your cultivation is higher than the two of us. The elders of Hongmeng are as many as the clouds. If you don't answer us clearly and deliberately cause the death of our Hongmeng envoy, even if you're a member of the Yang family, no one will be able to protect you. What a joke. You people from Hongmeng are not as skilled as others, yet you still blame me, the person who avenged him, after he died. You don't have the ability to protect Hua Xia's foundation, so don't talk nonsense. Not only are you saying things after the fact, but you're also shamelessly framing your benefactor. Yang Qing sneered. Arrogant to the extreme. Don't think that we don't dare to touch you, Lu Huiting said sinisterly. That depends on whether you have the ability or not. A wild cultivator dares to be enemies with us, Hongmeng. I think you're used to running amok in this filthy world and don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Hao Changfeng saw that his junior sister had the intention to make a move, so he calmly pressed on Lu Huiting's shoulder. Junior sister, this person's cultivation is higher than ours. Although he's suspicious, it's better to report to master first and let him make the decision. Lu Huiting's brows flashed coldly. Senior brother is right. Let's keep him for a few days. With master's methods, he won't dare to speak carelessly. The truth will come to light sooner or later. After saying that, the two of them took a deep look at Yang Qing and planned to leave. However, Yang Qing's eyes were filled with coldness as he blocked their path in a flash. Leaving so soon? I still want to keep the two envoys from Hongmeng for a cup of tea. Yang Qing smiled innocently. No need. If you want to drink tea, you have to be the head of the Yang family. It's not your turn yet, Lu Huiting said disdainfully. Yang Qing said awkwardly, but I don't want the two of you to leave just like that. What should I do? Hao Changfeng was a little vigilant. Don't tell me you want to fight with us? Openly going against Hongmeng? Hey, what are you talking about? I wouldn't dare. Yang Qing hurriedly smiled and waved his hand. I'm just worried that if you guys go back and invite a very powerful expert, that expert will insist that I killed the monk on purpose. What should I do then? You don't have to worry about this. My master is clear and upright. He has never falsely accused a good person. If you don't have a guilty conscience, then stay in Zhonghai obediently. When my master comes, he will naturally know whether you're secretly playing tricks or not, Lu Huiting said proudly. Yang Qing nodded and suddenly thought of something. Both of you, does everyone in Hongmeng have a soul tablet? Why are you asking this? Hao Changfeng frowned. Yang Qing had a friendly look on his face. Don't be nervous, I'm just curious because I met an extremely sloppy-looking Taoist before. I asked him if he wasn't afraid of being caught by the people of Hongmeng. He said that you guys wouldn't be able to find him. Oh right, that Taoist also knows what kind of blood dragon golden blade. What? Lu Huiting exclaimed, Blood dragon golden blade? How did you meet that traitor Taoist Huang Yun? Traitor? Yang Qing was confused. You guys know him? Why do you say he's a traitor? I think he's quite kind and even chatted with him for a while. Yang Qing only felt that his acting skills had reached perfection. He could even say such nonsense so smoothly. There was no reason in the world that the Oscar Best Actor award would not be given to him. Lu Huiting and Hao Changfeng looked at each other in disbelief, as if they had heard something strange. Chapter 996. Huang Yun betrayed Hongmeng and joined one of the ancient clans, the Luo clan. The Blood Dragon Golden Dagger and the Demon-Suppressing Golden Hammer were given to him by the Luo clan. He wasn't sent by Hongmeng to the All Heavens Island, so we didn't set up a soul tablet for him. Hao Changfeng asked suspiciously, but the problem is, why did he meet you after coming out of the illusion? Are you related to him and the Luo clan? Yang Chen sighed when he heard this. He was interested in a bottle of high-quality, medicinal pills given to me by my master to aid in my cultivation. Elixirs? You mean elixirs for cultivation? Lu Huiting's eyes lit up. Yang Qing muttered in his heart, why is it like a tigress in heat? But he had to continue making up stories. Sigh. He tried to get close to me at first, saying that he was from Hongming. I've always wanted to go to Hongming's illusion. He said that he could go, but I had to give him some elixirs. I was suspicious. There are so many strange people in Hongming, why would they care about those elixirs? At this point, Yang Chen intentionally paused and looked at the pair of siblings. Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading exchanged glances and understood each other tacitly. That's right. We of Hongmeng are determined to protect Hua Xia's foundation. We're focused on cultivation and pursuing the heavenly Tao, so we won't be shameless like Taoist Huang Yun and work for the Luo clan. But do you really have elixirs that are worth him going through so much trouble to trick you? Hao Changfeng asked. Yang Qing patted his chest. Look at me, I'm only in my 20s and I don't have any common knowledge about cultivation. I have to figure it out on my own. If I didn't have the help of good elixirs, how could I have this cultivation? After hearing Yang Cheng's words, Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading believed him more. Indeed, although they couldn't see Yang Cheng's exact cultivation, it was obvious that he was a level higher than them. The two of them had been cultivating since they were young. In the secular world, they were already more than 60 years old. They just looked young. In particular, he had stayed in the soul formation stage for almost 30 years. It could be said that he was hungry for a breakthrough. But why was your pill discovered by Huang Yun? Yang Qing had a helpless look on his face. Wasn't it because he said that he wanted to appraise each other's treasures? He took out the Blood Flood Dragon Golden Blade and other magical weapons. I'm a prideful person, but I don't have any magical weapons, so I had to take out my medicinal pills. Later, when he saw my spirit pill, he said that he wanted me to give it to him. He was even willing to exchange magic treasures with me. But that was passed down to me by my master. How could I give it away so easily? We were having a good chat at first, but in the end it turned into a fight with him. It was a draw and he ran away, so I didn't bother too much about it. You're saying that Taoist Huang Yun is willing to use his Dharma treasures to exchange for spiritual pills with you? Hao Changfeng asked with a strange look in his eyes. Yang Qing laughed in his heart. It seemed that they really didn't know that he had killed the slovenly Taoist. This was easy to deal with. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure how effective that medicinal pill is. It's just that when I run into a bottleneck in my cultivation, I'll eat one and then work hard to break through. It's quite useful, Yang Qing said. On the other hand, Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading's eyes were filled with excitement. They didn't think too much about how Huang Yun found Yang Qin. Is your spiritual pill the Heaven Cloud pill? Yang Qing said in distress. I don't know what kind of pill it is. To be honest, I don't know anything about spiritual pills or magic treasures. My master left after giving it to me. What Yang Qing didn't know was that at this moment, Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading were using a secret method to communicate with each other through divine sense. Senior brother, if it's really as effective as he said, even if it's not a Heaven Cloud pill, it's still a superior grade spiritual pill. Otherwise, why would Taoist Huang Yun be willing to exchange it with a Dharma treasure? That's right. If it's really a Heaven Cloud pill, it's understandable. That's a spiritual pill that can help a soul formation cultivator reach the crossing tribulation realm by more than 50%. This foppish son of the Yang family actually ate the Heaven Cloud pill as soon as he touched the bottleneck? What a waste of a treasure. If we have the Heaven Cloud pill, I'm afraid that in less than 3 years, we'll have a chance to reach the peak of the soul formation late stage and advance to the crossing tribulation realm. It's not just us. Even Master is probably drooling over it. Apart from the few Heaven Stage elders, there aren't many Earth Stage Masters in our All Heavens Island who have superior grade spiritual pills. After exchanging some secret messages, the two of them made up their minds. They had to find a way to get such a good thing. In any case, with their backing from Hongmeng, Yang Qing wouldn't dare to do anything to them if they used some tricks to trick them into giving it to them. Although Yang Qing couldn't hear the two's secret messages, He could sense the strange movements of their divine senses. He knew very well what they were up to. He sneered inwardly. As expected, they weren't good people. Cultivators were actually people who seized the fortune of heaven and earth. They didn't have a pure heart and few desires. If they really had no desires, why would they pursue realms, cultivation, and longevity? At the end of the day, it was just a disdain for worldly values and the pursuit of the more illusory heavenly Tao. Yang Qing didn't despise this kind of thinking. Every man for himself would be destroyed by heaven and earth. The key was that what he wanted to do would be more ruthless than what others did. He would take whatever he could. Not to mention these two people in front of him. If those fellows from Hongmeng or the hidden families had any good treasures that could strengthen him and help his women achieve longevity, then he would take all of them. As for whether they lived or died, what did that have to do with him? Weren't they just a bunch of beasts who fought over delicious meat? Same to same. At this moment, Hao Changfeng revealed a serious expression and said, "Yang Qing, do you have the spirit pill with you? What's wrong? Why do you have such an expression?" Yang Qing had a guilty look on his face, but in his heart he secretly muttered, "It's starting, this guy is going to start acting. Do you know that if you really took the heaven cloud pill, then you'll be in big trouble right now?" Hao Changfeng sighed. "What do you mean?" The heaven cloud pill is actually a kind of slow poison. Although it can help cultivators break through, or even all the way to the tribulation stage, it will slowly accumulate some poison in your body that you can't detect. Yang Qing revealed a surprised expression. "How is that possible? My master wouldn't harm me." "We don't know about that," Lu Huiting said proudly. "We are special envoys from Hongmeng. Why would we lie to you? What benefits does this bring to us? If it wasn't for the fact that you're a descendant of the Yang family, we wouldn't even bother to care about you." Yang Qing looked like he was struggling. "Then I'm poisoned now?" "It should be, but you don't have to worry. We haven't seen your pill yet, so we can't be sure if it's the heaven cloud pill or not. If it's on you, we can help you confirm it. But in order to prevent me from meeting that guy like Huang Yun Daoist again, I put the pill in a remote ravine far away," Yang Qing said gloomily. Hao Changfeng and Lu Huiting's lips twitched. "Don't worry, we're not in a hurry to go back. Since we've found out that you didn't kill monk Tianyin on purpose, then we have the responsibility to take care of the descendants of the four great families. Why don't you take us to see your pill? If it's really the heaven cloud pill, we can ask our master to concoct an antidote for you," Hao Changfeng said righteously. Yang Qing was stunned. "Your master knows how to concoct an antidote?" "Of course, but—" Hao Changfeng was a little troubled. "I'm just afraid that you won't believe us." "What do you mean?" Yang Qing asked. "Because the antidote for the heaven cloud pill uses the heaven cloud pill itself as a catalyst. We need to take your heaven cloud pill back to Hongmeng's All Heavens Island and make it into an antidote before sending it back to you," Hao Changfeng said. Yang Qing sneered in his heart. They were really good at making things up, but he revealed a troubled expression on his face. That's the only thing my master left me." Lu Huiting said indifferently, "We haven't seen that pill yet, so it might not be the heaven cloud pill. It's possible that it's something else. Instead of looking for trouble, why don't you take us to see it first?" Although they said that, the two had already made up their minds. No matter what pill it was, they would say it was the heaven cloud pill. Because Yang Qing was obviously an idiot when it came to pills. However, Yang Qing's eyes were full of conflict. After thinking for a long time, he sighed. "All right, I don't want to die either. But don't try to steal my elixir like that Taoist Huang Yun did, or I'll fight you to the death." What a joke! If we, Hongmeng, are like the lackeys of those hidden families, can we still be called Huaxia's protectors? Hao Changfeng said disdainfully. In his heart, he thought, "Why do we need to steal it? To deal with an idiot like you who only has a cultivation base, we can get the elixir with just a few words. Even if we're discovered, there's no proof. Do you still dare to go to Hongmeng's All Heavens Island to steal something? Yang Qing scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. If that's the case, then come with me. That place is a bit far, but it'll be fast for you to fly there. Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading nodded nonchalantly, but their hearts were burning with passion. They couldn't let the cat out of the bag until the last moment. They had already made up their minds. Once they got the elixir, they would secretly cultivate in seclusion. They couldn't let the other people on the All Heavens Island know about it. At the very least, they had to break through to the tribulation passing stage first. The three of them leaped into the air. At the soul-forming stage, flying in the air with true inner force was a natural thing to do. The fastest way was naturally to fly on a sword or a Dharma treasure. However, that required a special incantation, and not everyone could do it. 3 shadows flashed across the sky, and no one in the silent city noticed them. Soon, they disappeared into the forest in the north of Zhonghai. Chapter 997. Ever since Yang Chun failed to trigger the heavenly tribulation using all of his cultivation, he was able to unleash his cultivation freely. He knew that there was still a long way to go before the second tribulation, which made him feel more at ease. Of course, Yang Chen wouldn't be bored to the point of living like a Taoist cultivator, coming and going without a trace. The way of life in the secular world was what he liked the most. Pretending to be an expert wasn't his style. He flew quickly and passed 2 provinces in the blink of an eye. This speed was normal for a soul formation cultivator. When he arrived at an unknown mountain, Yang Qing waved at Lu Huading and Hao Changfeng behind him and landed in a forest. The 2 of them were getting impatient. They thought that the Yang family was quite cunning. They were hundreds of kilometers away from Zhonghai, but they still hid so far away. It was early September, and the forest was filled with dark shadows. A crescent moon shone down its silver light. Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading looked around and didn't find anything special. Is this where you hid your spirit pill? Hao Changfeng couldn't find a place to hide it, so he couldn't find anything. Yang Qing turned around with an evil smile on his face. Of course not. Then why did you stop here? Lu Huading asked unhappily. Yang Qing shrugged. Because I don't have any elixir. What? How dare you make fun of us? Lu Huading scolded. She was in her 60s, but her voice sounded like a young girl. Cultivators were indeed mysterious. Yang Qing didn't care. I'm just taking my dog for a walk in the middle of the night. What can you do to me? You arrogant Yang family brat. How dare you blaspheme the people of Hongmeng? Lu Huading's face turned red. Why wouldn't I dare? You're just a bitch who only knows how to make a fuss. Yang Qing sneered. Hao Changfeng sensed that something was amiss. His expression turned solemn, and one of his hands subconsciously reached for the longsword on his back. What do you mean by that? Yang Qing looked up at the bright moonlight. Do you know where that sloppy Taoist Huang Yun is now? The 2 of them remained silent. Yang Qing pointed at the sky. I won't say anything else. In any case, you'll be accompanying him in a while. Not good. Junior apprentice sister, watch out. Hao Changfeng finally realized what Yang Qing meant. He wanted to silence them. The spirit herbs and Taoist priest Huangyun's robbery were just excuses to trick them into leaving Zhonghai and coming to this wilderness. If he killed them in Zhonghai, their soul tablets would record the specific location. But in such a godforsaken place, even if they died, no one would think that it was Yang Qing who killed them. This was also the reason why Yang Qing wanted to ask about the soul tablet. At the end of the day, the 2 of them were blinded by greed. They thought that Yang Qing wouldn't dare to do anything to them because they were in Hongmeng. In order to covet the Shaoyun pill that didn't even exist, they fell for Yang Qing's trap. It's too late. Greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Even if I really have a spirit pill, it's not something you can covet. Before Yang Qing could finish his sentence, he had already appeared in front of the 2 of them. He raised his hand, and a ripple of heaven and earth restoration force gathered in his palm. He then slapped it toward Lu Huiting's head. Although Lu Huiting was only in the mid-stage of soul formation, she had quick reflexes. She barely dodged the attack and quickly retreated. Hao Changfeng saw the opportunity and unsheathed the flying sword on his back. It was a 3-foot-long sword that looked like a rainbow in autumn. Light swirled around the sword like ripples in water. The dark blue blade looked like a sapphire. Mystic water, go! Just as Yang Qing was about to capture Lu Huiting, a sword suddenly flashed in front of him. 3 thick walls made of ice suddenly appeared in front of him. This sword can instantly freeze ice. Although the mystic ice could not stop Yang Qing from breaking through, it could still create a lot of variables in this battle. After buying some time, Lu Huiting suddenly took out a phoenix tail zither from a sumer ring on her finger. The zither was crimson in color, and the carvings on it were lifelike phoenixes. The phoenix feathers on the back of the zither were especially elegant and beautiful. Humph! How despicable! How dare you sneak attack me? Lu Huiting said as she held the zither in one hand and plucked the strings with the other. Clang! Clang! 3 sound waves shot out from the zither, and like 3 invisible wind blades, they slashed toward Yang Qing from 3 different angles. Another Dharma treasure, and it's a sound wave attack? Yang Qing laughed in his heart. Good, good, good. Use all your Dharma treasures. I'll take them all after I kill you. Yang Qing channeled the heaven and earth restoration power. The power of a soul formation middle stage Dharma treasure was only comparable to that of a soul formation final stage Dharma treasure. He had already passed the first stage of the 9 heavenly lightning tribulation, and he was good at recovery and defense, so there was no way he could dodge it. As soon as the 3 sound wave wind blades touched Yang Chen's shield, they disappeared without a trace. They didn't have any effect at all. How is this possible? My phoenix tail, Lu Huiting had a look of disbelief on her face. Yang Cheng's defense was far beyond what she had imagined. Hao Changfeng's expression was solemn as he channeled his true origin force and unleashed dozens of frosty sword chi. Streaks of blue sword aura crisscrossed and danced wildly, instantly setting up a frost formation in the forest. Yang Qing snorted coldly, and a shockwave of the heaven and earth restoration power exploded from where he was standing. Boom! Boom! None of the sword chi were able to unleash their full power and were all shattered into pieces. Lu Huiting kept releasing sound waves from the phoenix feather guqin, but it was like scratching an itch for Yang Qin. It didn't have any effect at all. It was not that the 2 Dharma treasures were too weak. It was just that their cultivation was much lower than Yang Qing's, so they could not unleash the full power of the Dharma treasures. If Yang Qing was at the first stage of the 3 Yang fire tribulation, they might be able to compete with him with their Dharma treasures. However, Yang Qing was at the highest level of tribulation transcendence power that they could never imagine. Junior sister, run. Hao Changfeng realized that they were going to die sooner or later, so he immediately shouted at Lu Huiting to run away. Lu Huiting also realized that they were going to die. She was very alert and ran toward the densely populated south instead of the west where Hongmeng was located. As long as she ran into a crowded place, even if Yang Qing wanted to kill someone, he would have to bear the risk of being found out. However, Yang Qing would not let them have their way. Since he was already here, he had already made full preparations. Hao Changfeng controlled the Xianshui flying sword to scatter countless blue ice blades, thinking that it could temporarily slow down Yang Chen's speed and allow him to escape. However, he didn't expect that a few balls of golden-red flames would appear out of nowhere and engulf the 2 of them. Nan Mingli fire? Hao Changfeng screamed as if he had seen a ghost. Get out of the way. Lu Huiting's face was pale as well. She ran away with her Shixiao. More than 10 balls of giant golden flames danced in the sky like small suns, dazzling to the eyes. The scorching heat that was mixed with the flames sent chills down their spines. Be obedient and die. I don't want my Dharma treasures to suffer. Yang Qing chuckled. In his heart, he was exhilarated. He really did not know that he had a treasure without knowing it. It turned out that the heaven and earth restoration energy could be used in this way. The heaven and earth restoration energy was not an extremely powerful attack. However, it was one with heaven and earth. It could be used to attack enemies with the power of heaven and earth. Although he had only experienced a little bit of the old man's power, it was enough to make these two deity transformation stage idiots suffer greatly and be stuck between a rock and a hard place. The Nan Mingli fire was only the first level of the three Yang fire tribulation, but it was not something that these two people could withstand. Hao Changfeng and Lu Huading had not even reached the level of tribulation transcendence. How could they not be frightened by the heavenly fire? Young master of the Yang family, we know we were wrong. Please have mercy on us. Hao Changfeng was flexible. Seeing that the situation was not good and that he would be killed sooner or later, he began to beg for mercy. But Yang Qin wouldn't listen to him. If the two of them didn't die today, he would definitely be besieged by Hongmeng. Not only would he kill the two of them, he wouldn't let even a trace of their souls go. After the encirclement of a dozen or so Nan Mingli fireballs, the two of them were already badly battered as they were surrounded in a small area of the sky. This heavenly fire was not ordinary. If they did not have enough true core strength to withstand it, they would be severely injured. Therefore, it was extremely difficult for them to escape. Lu Huading's foam feather zither flashed with red light. She kept releasing sound waves to control the fire so that it would not get too close to them. However, the woman was at the end of her rope. Her true core strength was being suppressed to the point that it could not keep up with her output. On the other hand, Hao Changfeng's mystic water sword chi could only evaporate in an instant. They were completely useless. Yang Qing looked at them mockingly. He changed his mind, and the more than 10 balls of Nan Mingli fire suddenly gathered together. A huge fire dragon, which was more than 10 feet long, wrapped around the two of them and began to grow. After gathering more Nan Mingli fire, the high temperature made it difficult for them to breathe. Lu Huading stared at Yang Qing viciously. You will die a horrible death. You cheated. Yang Qing did not bother to pay attention to her. His figure flashed, and he entered the blazing area surrounded by the fire dragon. However, as a spellcaster, Yang Qing would not be hurt at all. A jet of Nan Mingli fire was spat out from the fire dragon's mouth. The golden flames condensed into a long sword of fire. Chapter 998. Yang Qing stepped in the air and arrived in front of the two of them. He was like an executioner, looking at the two dead people without the slightest emotion. Hao Changfeng put down his sword in despair. He already knew that no matter how much he struggled, he would definitely die tonight. Can you tell me why? Even if we are greedy, we have never thought of harming you. If someone else wants to kill me, then I will kill them. You can say that I am a devil, that I am cruel, but I am already used to it. To me, as long as someone disobeys my will and makes me unhappy, I will kill them if I want to. You can say that I am a devil, that I am cruel, but I am already used to it. This is me. As long as I and the people I care about can live a good life, I don't care if you die. What do you think you can get out of this? Even if you snatch our treasures and elixirs, Hongmeng will find you sooner or later. At that time, do you think you'll be able to resist the joint attacks of those earth-rank and heaven-rank elders? Lu Huading said resentfully. Yang Qing sneered. Even if I want to pretend that you guys don't exist, there are already people looking for trouble with me. Instead of waiting for death, it is better to make the first move. You will regret it. Thank you for your concern, but I don't need it. Also, you don't have to worry about being lonely over there, because in the near future, I will kill all those who dare to disobey me. After Yang Qing finished speaking, the long sword formed by the Nan Mingli fire in his hand slashed down with a loud bang. Hao Chongfeng and Lu Huiting were unable to dodge at all. The powerful pressure and the Nanmingli fire surrounded them, and they were instantly engulfed by the flames. After all, the two of them were only ordinary soul formation cultivators, and their bodies were not as strong as Yang Qing's. Their bodies were definitely weaker than magic treasures. After Yang Qing killed the two of them, he took the black water flying sword, the phoenix feather zither, and Lu Huiting's mustard seed summer ring. After probing the spatial ring with his divine sense, he found that it really was a good thing. It was a small space in a parallel space, but it still had a volume of more than 10 cubic meters. What made Yang Qing a little happy was that there were a bunch of unknown cultivation materials and medicinal pills inside. Perhaps he could collect them all and find time to ask that Xiao Qiqing. That woman claimed to be a cultivation encyclopedia. She should be able to tell him what these things were used for. After winning the battle, Yang Qing felt refreshed. After making sure that no one within a radius of a few hundred miles would notice what happened here, Yang Qing finally returned to Zhonghai. After that, Hongmeng would immediately know that the two special envoys were dead, and it was only a matter of time before they sent a new envoy. At that time, it would naturally be a good thing if they couldn't find out that he was the culprit. He could buy time to strengthen himself and the people around him. If they found out that he was the culprit, he could just think of a way to get rid of him. For Yang Qing, whose goal was to kill his way into the illusion and plunder everything from Hongmeng and the hidden families, this was just an appetizer. After returning to Zhonghai, Yang Qing had a comfortable sleep, and no one would notice what he went out to do that night. The next morning, breakfast at home seemed to be more lively than usual. Not only would Hui Lin stay these 2 days, but also Lan Lan and Minwan. Suddenly, there were 7 women, old and young, in the house. Although because Lan Lan called her grandma, Guoshuahua was completely intoxicated by the happiness of being a cheap grandma. When she saw this little girl eat 3 steamers of buns and drink half a pot of porridge, Guoshuahua's smile stiffened. After hearing Lin Ruoshi's explanation, Guoshuahua then realized that Lan Lan was gifted. Involuntarily, Guoshuahua looked at her son strangely. Yang Qing, don't tell me you agreed to accept Lan Lan as your daughter because she's as special as you? Guoshuahua asked. Yang Qing was fighting with the little girl for the last fried bun. Both of their forks were entangled on it. I'd rather she was an ordinary child. At least she wouldn't fight with me for food. This morning, Lan Lan had 2 pigtails. She was wearing a blue floral dress with Lin Ruoshi's help. She looked very cute, but at this moment, she puffed up her cheeks and said in a coquettish voice, "Bad uncle is not a father. Lanlan's father won't fight with Lan Lan for food." Lin Ruoshi quickly slapped Yang Qing's wrist and said unhappily, "You're not allowed to fight with Lan Lan. Children need to grow up, you don't need to eat at all, yet you keep eating so much. It's not like you'll die if you eat less." Yang Qing wanted to cry but no tears came out. How was he going to live? He even had to endure eating now? However, he was afraid of his wife deep in his bones, so Yang Chen reluctantly retracted his hand. Zhenxiu and Hui Lin were watching from the side and snickered. "Brother Yang, your position in Sister Ruoshi's heart seems to have dropped by another level." Zhenxiu blinked and said. Yang Qing felt a headache coming on and glared at the girl. "Don't make sarcastic remarks. I haven't told you yet. When I send you to school later, I have to inspect your surroundings." When Zhenxiu heard this, she immediately became unhappy and said, "What do you mean by inspecting the environment? Isn't it just military training? I still remember that you were bullied by someone in high school. Also, the most important thing is, did those military instructors take advantage of you?" Yang Qing asked seriously. Zhenxiu blushed. "Brother Yang, why are you thinking about this? Everyone is watching. How could there be an instructor who would do such a thing?" Lin Ruoshi, who was wiping the corner of Lanlan's mouth with a towel, turned her head and snorted with an expressionless face. "Other than this, I won't think about anything else." Yang Qing rubbed his nose to hide his embarrassment. Actually, there was another reason for going to Zhonghai University, which was to look for Xiao Qiqing so that he could appraise the things he got last night. However, it was not good to let Lin Ruoshi know about this. Who knew? Just as he was thinking about this, Lin Ruoshi said lightly, "I don't care what you want to ask, but it's best if nothing else happens." Yang Qing felt a chill down his spine and smiled stiffly at Lin Ruoshi. "Wife, why do you seem to know how to read minds?" Lin Ruoshi didn't look at him directly. "Even if I read it, I might not be able to control it." Yang Qing was speechless for a while. Lin Ruoshi was obviously jealous of him. Obviously, she was still unhappy that he went to see Xiao Qiqing. However, Xiao Qiqing could indeed help her, so it was not good for him to stop her. Although the two of them had been intimate for more than a year and a half since yesterday afternoon, and their relationship had improved a lot, Lin Ruoshi was already having a hard time tolerating her current number of lovers. If there were any more, the balance in her heart would be broken again. After breakfast, Hui Lin went to talk about the script with director Yu Shuo, and Lin Ruoshi had just returned to Zhonghai, so naturally, she had a lot of things to do. Lan Lan could only continue to be taken care of by Min Wan. Fortunately, Guishuahua and Mother Wang played with the little girl, so Lan Lan didn't feel too bored. She watched cartoons on the digital TV at home, and the day passed quickly. Yang Qing drove to Zhonghai University with Zhenxiu. While chatting in the car, Yang Qing suddenly thought of Tang Tang, who he hadn't seen for a long time. As her mother's man, Yang Qing had to care about his sister-in-law, who had a complicated relationship with him. "Zhenxiu, did you see Tang Tang at school?" Zhenxiu shook her head. "I don't think Tang Tang participated in the military training. Even if she didn't participate, the school wouldn't dare to say anything." Yang Qing secretly shook his head. Maybe Yuan Yi spoiled her and helped Tang Tang escape from the military training. But it was also possible that Tang Tang was busy with other things after the major change in the Tang family. When they arrived at the training ground for freshmen at Zhonghai University, Yang Qing and Zhenxiu got out of the car, and they attracted a lot of attention. It was not anything else, but the BMW X6 that Yang Qing drove had a 4 displacement configuration, which sold for more than 2 million in Huaxia. A young man coming out of such a car with a beautiful first-year girl was the first thing that came to everyone's mind in a place like a school for gossip. They couldn't think of any other possibility besides keeping him. Because the military training hadn't started, a few girls who knew Zhenxiu since the beginning of the school had come up with strange smiles. They surrounded Zhenxiu and looked at Yang Qing and the luxury car with envious eyes. "Zhenxiu, you're really good at pretending. You said you were going to work during the summer vacation. Your boyfriend drives a big BMW. Yeah, what does your family do? Are there any handsome guys that you can introduce to us?" The girls whispered and asked. When the whispers reached Yang Qing's ears, it made Yang Qing feel a little smug. "So I can also be considered a handsome guy?" In fact, Yang Qing also had a generation gap with these young girls. Today, who drove a 2 million car to send a girl to school. Even Zhu Beiji could be called a handsome guy. Zhenxiu's face was red, and her beautiful oval face was especially bright. She shyly glanced at Yang Qing and quickly explained, "Don't misunderstand, that's my sister's husband. It's just that we live together, and he sent me to the military training today." "Brother-in-law? Who would believe that? He looks like he's in his 20s. Why do I think he's the same age as us?" "Su Zhenxiu, you're too mean. If you have money, just say it. Why are you pretending to be poor?" The girls didn't believe it at all. It was true that Yang Qing was too young. Most of the boys at his age were still in graduate school. How could he be their brother-in-law? At this moment, a few tall boys wearing military camouflage uniforms walked over. When the girls saw these boys, they were a little scared and quieted down. They turned to look at Yang Qing with some worry. The one in front had ear-length hair and silver earrings. His face was relatively sharp, and he looked a little cold. He glanced at Yang Qing with disdain, and then asked Zhenxiu with a naughty smile, "Zhenxiu, this man is the reason why you rejected me?" Chapter 999. When Zhenxiu saw this group of boys, she did not cower like the other girls. Her beautiful face revealed a trace of helplessness. "You Ziping, how many times have I told you that I don't like you, and it has nothing to do with others?" This trendy man called Yu Ziping obviously did not believe her, and smiled evilly. "There is no such thing as liking for no reason, and there is no such thing as disliking for no reason. There must be some reason why you are unwilling to be my girlfriend. The more you refuse to admit it, the more it proves that you care." Zhenxiu touched her forehead with a headache, stroked her silky hair, and turned to Yang Qing. "Brother Yang, didn't you say that you were worried that I would be bullied? Then does being harassed count?" Yang Qing listened with interest. Hearing this, he could not help but smile amiably at Yu Ziping. "Young man, are you Zhenxiu's classmate?" When the students heard Yang Qing ask Yu Ziping in the tone of an elder, they couldn't help but open their mouths in a daze. Yu Ziping frowned in extreme displeasure. "Humph, you really think you're something. What, do you want to be an elder and teach me to leave Zhenxiu? Is there something wrong with your head? That's not right, Zhenxiu wouldn't fall for a retard, would she?" When he said this, the group of followers and the students at the side all began to mock him. Yang Qing originally only wanted to get close to Zhenxiu's classmates, but he did not expect that his words could be mistaken as unfriendly. "Yu Ziping, you are not allowed to speak nonsense about my brother Yang." Zhenxiu was very dissatisfied that Yang Qing was being ridiculed, and immediately replied with a frown. Yu Ziping's eyes were a little sullen. "You still said that it has nothing to do with this man, and you've exposed yourself. He is my family, of course I can't be scolded by you." "Family? Do you think you're playing house?" Yu Ziping said disdainfully. "I thought you, Su Zhenxiu, were different, but you're still the same as my previous girlfriends. Once you fall for a rich man, no matter how country bumpkin he is, it's like picking up a treasure. If you talk nonsense again, I'll beat you up." Zhenxiu's pretty face was already filled with anger. Yang Qing, who was at the side, was secretly delighted. This lass was more well-behaved in front of ordinary students, but she was very open to this guy who looked like a delinquent. From the looks of it, she was really going to fight. Of course, the fact that Yang Qing was by her side made Zhenxiu feel particularly embarrassed. The bad girl factor that had not erupted for a long time had a tendency to recover. At this time, Yang Qing reached out and patted the girl's shoulder, comforting her. "Don't make it look like a cockfight. University has just started, why are you fighting? This is Yu Ziping, right? You misunderstood, I am really Zhenxiu's brother-in-law. Today, I sent her to military training to see her learning environment." Yu Ziping looked at Yang Qing suspiciously. "Are you serious? You are really suspicious." Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Do you want me to take out my marriage certificate for you to see? My wife is very beautiful, and Zhenxiu hasn't even grown up yet. How can I like her?" "Brother Yang, don't joke around." Zhenxiu was angry. She turned her head and screamed, and her pink face turned red. The surrounding girls giggled. This time, everyone believed that the two of them were not in a relationship. Otherwise, this drama would be too ridiculous. Yu Ziping's eyes relaxed a little, and he smiled proudly. "Since you are not Zhenxiu's man, then we will let you go today, but you better give Zhenxiu some psychological counseling. No woman that I, Yu Ziping, fancy can escape from my palm." Zhenxiu looked at him with disgust. "You are so disgusting. Do you really think I don't dare to hit you? Come on." Yu Ziping thought that he was very cool and brushed the long bangs in front of his forehead, tilted his head, and spread out his hands. "I like your ruthlessness, it must be very exciting in bed." "Oh right, Zhenxiu, you are still a virgin, right? I see that your legs are quite tight, haha." The few tall boys who followed him laughed, and some of the girls around them blushed. Zhenxiu clenched her two small fists, and she was trembling with anger. She turned her head and said to Yang Qing, "Brother Yang, can I hit him?" Yang Qing scratched his chin, but he shook his head. You can't hit him. How can a girl hit someone so casually? In the future, everyone will know that you are so violent, and guys will not dare to chase you anymore. Zhenxiu did not expect Yang Qing to say this, and she was a little unhappy. She bit her lips, and her heart was sour and bitter. Yu Ziping did not hear what the two of them said, but he saw that Zhenxiu was angered, and she was restraining herself. Her willowy eyebrows were slightly furrowed, and he revealed a bit of infatuation. Originally, Zhenxiu had a mixed-race face, and the lines were particularly clear. Her skin was fair and tender, and she had a good figure, which was quite in line with the aesthetic standards of these guys who had just entered university. If she were to be posted on the internet, she would be the goddess of otakus. Moreover, Zhenxiu's usual dressing and lifestyle were relatively simple, and one look and one could tell that she was not the daughter of a rich or powerful family, and it would not be difficult for her to get a hold of her. Therefore, as soon as she entered university, many guys had their eyes on Zhenxiu, and Yu Ziping was of course one of the strongest contenders. Zhenxiu, accompany me out for a day today. I will bring you to buy a Chanel bag. You can choose any price you want. Isn't your bag quite old? Yu Ziping said confidently. When the surrounding girls heard that they were going to buy a branded bag for Zhenxiu, they couldn't help but reveal envious expressions. After all, many girls were still looking for a boyfriend with the idea of taking advantage of their youth to earn more money. One look and you could tell that Yu Ziping was a playboy, but with money everything was fine. Moreover, he was actually not bad-looking. Keep your money to fool others. I want to participate in military training. Zhenxiu didn't want to talk to him anymore. Yu Ziping raised his eyebrows and said, What the hell is military training? I just need to tell my dad, and these bullshit instructors officers, won't they still have to obediently add soles to my shoes? When Yang Qing heard this, he couldn't help but ask curiously, Who is your dad? Yu Ziping didn't reply, but gestured to the lackeys behind him. A boy with a rough voice immediately reported and said boldly, Our brother Ziping's father is the principal of our university. When he said that, it was as if the principal was his father. Many of the surrounding students exclaimed in surprise, and some of them already knew about it, but they looked helpless. Zhonghai University was one of the top universities in Huaxia. To be able to become the principal of this university with hundreds of thousands of students and teachers, it was only natural that he wasn't an ordinary person. Usually, the principal would be appointed by the higher government officials. Not only was the principal of the university a high official of the government. Yang Qing turned his head and asked Zhenxiu, Is what he said true? Zhenxiu nodded, looking bored. Our principal is called Yu Weibing. When he first saw me, he said that he was the principal's son. Some of my classmates also mentioned him, so it should be true. Yang Cheng's expression turned ugly when he heard this. How can this be? The principal has to be replaced. When the surrounding people heard this, it was as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. A fierce look flashed in Yu Ziping's eyes, and he said with a sinister smile, What? Did you just say? There was a hint of threat in his tone. Yang Chen didn't care at all and unhappily said, If the headmaster's son is like this, how can he teach the students? This won't do. I have to bring him to see his father now, then get you a proper headmaster. Yang Qing didn't think much of it, but he felt that Zhenxiu had spent so much effort to get into the university, so she should have an excellent teaching environment. Wasn't it nonsense to be harassed by these guys all day? However, in the eyes of the people around him, he didn't know how to spell the word death. Sure enough, Yu Ziping was already burning with anger, and he shouted at the group of lackeys behind him, What are you waiting for? Go and beat this bastard to death. Chapter 1000. As soon as they heard that they could make a move, how could this group of ruffians, who followed Yu Ziping, be lenient? 7 or 8 people rushed directly to Yang Cheng's side. Zhenxiu wasn't worried about Yang Cheng's safety at all. She just felt that these guys were too pitiful. Yang Qing had clearly switched to a one-track mind mode at this time. If he said he wanted to change the principle, no one could stop him. A few punks rushed up. Before they could swing their fists at Yang Qing's face, Yang Qing had already taken a step forward from an angle that no one expected. He turned around and swept the back of a few students' legs with his toes. These delinquents had relied on Yu Ziping's connections to sneak into the school. Although they weren't very good academically, they were famous for being ruthless in the market. They didn't expect that they wouldn't even be able to see clearly before their legs went numb and they fell to their knees. Yang Qing naturally wouldn't really make a move on them. Even if he didn't care about hurting people and bleeding in front of so many onlookers, Zhenxiu would always be regarded as a different species in the future. Therefore, after a few dexterous turns, the legs of these punks were numb. Kneeling in front of so many people was definitely a huge psychological humiliation for these guys who cared about their reputation. Yu Ziping's eyes were glued to the fight. Due to his father, Yu Weibing, he had seen some fierce soldiers in the special forces, but he had never seen Yang Chen's skills, which he couldn't even see clearly. He only felt that his vision was blurred, and the group of underlings all knelt down. Although he admired Yang Qing from the bottom of his heart and wanted to kneel down to learn from him, Yu Ziping knew that there was absolutely no turning back. Seeing Yang Qing approaching him, Yu Ziping subconsciously took 2 steps back, but he thought that it was wrong. Wouldn't I be admitting defeat? How could I live in the future? So he straightened his back and went up to him, shouting, "You're quite good at fighting. If you have the guts, wait for my dad to send someone over. He'll throw you into jail and beat you until you're crippled." Yang Qing's face was solemn as he asked, "Where is your father? Take me to him." Yu Ziping was stunned. He wondered if this guy was really sick in the head. Was he really going to tell his father that he wanted to change the principle? "Is my dad someone you can meet whenever you want?" Yu Ziping said disdainfully. Without saying a word, Yang Qing slapped Yu Ziping's face. If Yang Qing had not deliberately used less force, Yu Ziping would have at least knocked him out. The surrounding students were all dumbfounded. Some of them admired him, while others felt pity for him. They felt that Yang Qing was finished this time. Zhenxiu, on the other hand, stood there helplessly. She was not worried about Yang Qing, but Yang Qing's attitude just now made her feel a little uncomfortable. On the other side, Yu Ziping staggered a few steps back in a daze. He touched his left cheek. It was burning. It was obviously swollen. "You hit me? You. Even my dad hasn't hit me, how dare you hit me?" Yang Qing frowned and said, "I'm asking where your dad is. What nonsense are you spouting?" Yu Ziping was anxious. This guy really didn't care about his friends and family. He quickly took out the iPhone in his pocket. The case was still a trendy one with a big skull on it. As he dialed the number, Yu Ziping stood as far away from Yang Qing as possible. He pointed and scolded, Just you wait, I'll call my dad. If I don't make you look like a pig today and bleed a few kilograms of blood, don't even think about leaving this door." On the drill ground, the students were already in an uproar. Because Yu Ziping was the principal's son and had an extraordinary background, the instructors did not dare to announce the start of military training. On the other side, in the center of Zhonghai University, in a modern high-rise building that stood amidst the lush greenery, the headmaster's office on the top floor was a different scene. In the huge office, the decorations were gorgeous. The office furniture that was worth hundreds of thousands of yuan was placed, and the air was filled with the fragrance of natural wood. On a few crystal-clear booths, there were countless glittering cups and medals, all of which were polished to a golden shine. On a soft leather swivel chair, a middle-aged man with a square face and bright eyes was wearing a black suit and a scarlet tie. He was talking to the guests with a familiar smile. The only guest in the office was a middle-aged man who was also wearing a suit and had a rather handsome appearance. However, the man's expression was much friendlier. "Old Fang, do you need to personally come over for your daughter's matter? Isn't it just delaying school? With our relationship, you can just make a phone call. This man surnamed Fang was Tong Tong's biological father, Fang Zhongping. Fang Zhongping smiled amiably and said, "Old you don't know, but my daughter is very naughty. She was very pitiful since she was young. She clearly has a father and a mother, but she has to run away from them. She doesn't even have a few meals together. So, her mother and I almost spoil her, buy her whatever she wants, and don't let her be bullied at all. If it wasn't for the fact that she was born smart, it would be a problem for her to get into university. In this Zhonghai University there are a lot of pampered people. Which one of them isn't their own treasure? If my daughter causes any trouble, in order to prevent her from being expelled from the school, I still have to meet you and let you know." Yu Weibing laughed strangely. "You and the young miss of the Tang family still didn't end up together in the end?" Fang Zhongping's expression turned awkward and he sighed. "The falling flowers are yearning for the heartless river. I don't ask for these anymore. It's worth it to have a daughter with her. TSK, you're useless. Back then, when we were training in the army, you went out to find a woman. Only you didn't have the guts, and you're still like this now. My daughter is already so big, and I haven't even settled it as a mother." Yu Weibing shook his head. Fang Zhongping Shanshan smiled, as expected of an old comrade who understands me. Yu Weibing sighed. "I heard that the Tang family has changed, and the central government has blocked the news. Our old Yu family is far away from Beijing, so we don't know much. Your daughter and her mother should be busy with the Tang family's matters, right?" Fang Zhongping's expression changed slightly. "Old Yu, this matter. Let's stop here, don't look into it too deeply. It's not good for you to know more." Yu Weibing snorted lightly. "What's there to be afraid of? The 4 major families in Beijing are changing dynasties. What does it have to do with us? We can't participate, can't we just talk about it?" Fang Zhongping smiled and didn't say much. "I'm really not interested in the Tang family's matters, but I heard Commander Yang Pejuan has been suspended, and the one in charge of the Jiangnan military is the deputy commander. Is this true?" A strange light flashed in Fang Zhongping's eyes, but he still nodded. "Yes, why did you mention this? I heard that the Yang family found their eldest grandson, a young man named Yang Qing, and he is now in Zhonghai. You are the secretary of the municipal party committee, and you are close to the Yang family's vassal, the Yuan family. You should have known about this, right?" Fang Zhongping frowned. "Old Yu, don't tell me you still want to go back to Beijing? I'm just asking, why are you in such a hurry?" Yu Weibing smiled lightly. "As an old comrade, let me give you a piece of advice," Fang Zhongping said. "If you want to get the support of the Yang family through Yang Qing and go back to Beijing, you will only be asking for trouble. Yang Qing is not the kind of person you think he is. He is different from others." Yu Weibing smiled, and when he was about to take out a special panda bear cigarette to relieve his craving, his phone rang. He picked it up, and his face darkened after a few seconds. "Humph, good for nothing. All right, I will call your brother Lu over, just wait for me." Fang Zhongping looked at him in confusion, and when Yu Weibing put down the phone, he asked, "What happened? Do you need me to help?" "There's no need for that. An insensible guy hit my son," Yu Weibing said. "That's it? You can just hand it over to the police, why send Allor?" Fang Zhongping did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Although he's a good-for-nothing kid, he's my only lifeline. If I don't settle the matter after being beaten up, won't others think that my son is a pushover?" Fang Zhongping smiled bitterly. "Aren't you spoiling Ziping too much? After all, he is a boy." Yu Weibing let out a deep sigh, feeling a little melancholy. "I also know that this child is a little overboard outside, but it is okay for a young boy to be a little hot-blooded. My son is not bad in nature." Fang Zhongping was secretly disdainful, but he still nodded with a smile on his face. There was no reason to make things difficult for him as a father, as long as he did not provoke his precious daughter. "By the way, you haven't seen Ziping for a while. Why don't we have lunch together today?" After all, Zipring will be your daughter's classmate in the future. Yu Weibing stood up and said. Fang Zhongping immediately smiled warily and said, Old Yu, our Tang Tang is already engaged to Yuan Yi of the Yuan family, don't think too much. Yu Weibing said unhappily, You are the one who thinks too much. I don't want to find a daughter-in-law as disobedient as your daughter. Only the Yuan family would be willing to accept her. Let's go, I want to see who dares to hit my son. Fang Zhongping felt a little sad in his heart. Although this old man usually looked gentle and refined, he was famous for his bad temper in the army. His infatuated wife passed away after giving birth to his only son. For more than 10 years, he had never remarried, and his love for his only son was evident. Today, who was so unlucky to provoke someone, but to hit the son of his old comrade, he was really unlucky. When he thought of the bodyguard Alor, who worked hard for him, his skills and physique, Fang Zhongping's heart trembled a little. Chapter 1001. On the drill ground, Yang Qing waited for Yu Zipring to finish his phone call. He was not in a hurry to go up. Since he called the principal he was looking for, he just had to wait. While waiting, Yang Qing caught Zhenxiu and asked her to introduce him to the new classmates she knew in class. Zhenxiu was quite popular. After all, she looked quite pleasant and didn't have a temper like other beautiful girls. Zhenxiu, who was more mature, was easier to talk to. Many girls got along well with her at the beginning of school. However, the role of brother-in-law Yang Qing made everyone a little afraid. So when the students greeted Yang Qing, they subconsciously stood a little further away. But Yang Qing didn't care. As long as he confirmed that Zhenxiu was indeed like an ordinary university student, she had no problem in socializing and getting along well with the students around her, then he would have achieved his purpose of coming here. After less than 5 minutes, there was some noise in the crowd. It seemed that they were discussing someone approaching, but they didn't dare to say it out loud. The students naturally opened up a path, and a burly figure walked out from it. And Yu Ziping, who had been waiting nervously, shouted in surprise, Brother Lo, here. As if all the pressure had been vented, Yu Ziping became arrogant again. The man who was called Brother Lu looked at least 9 meters tall. His facial features were regular, but his eyebrows were full of a murderous aura. He was wearing a black suit, but he was meticulous. He was wearing a pair of shiny leather shoes, and his gait was full of vigor. Seeing Yu Ziping, the man didn't show any expression and just nodded symbolically. Young master, who is it? This question was asked without rhyme or reason, but it was extremely straightforward. Yu Ziping seemed to be used to this big man's way of speaking. He pointed at Yang Qing, who was talking nonsense with a few girls. It's him. That guy beat up all my brothers. Being pointed at like this, Yang Qing reluctantly waved to a few of Zhenxiu's female classmates and slowly walked to the center of the crowd. The man also walked forward. His hawk-like gaze swept across Yang Qing's body a few times. What made him feel strange was that this man didn't seem to have any signs of practicing martial arts, yet he felt that this man was extremely troublesome. Of course, the man didn't feel that he was going to lose. On the other hand, Yang Qing was able to see through this big fella's abilities with a single glance. What made Yang Qing a little surprised was that this big fella actually cultivated internal energy. Although it was only at the Hotian stage, if he was placed in the army, he would probably be considered a small ace. Why would he be a hired thug for a principal? Alor, what's your name? The man asked. Yang Qing smiled amiably. There's no need to tell me your name in a fight. We're not making friends in the future anyway. Alor frowned, his eyes showed some interest. I don't think there's a need to fight. If you know what's good for you, kneel down and kowtow to our young master. Otherwise, I can only cripple your arms and legs. Yang Qing was a little stunned. He didn't expect to meet someone who was more pretentious than him today. It couldn't be helped. Yang Qing was embarrassed to make the first move against a guy who only practiced martial arts, so he could only beckon Alor with his finger. Do it yourself. I'm too embarrassed to take the initiative to beat you up, Yang Qing said gloomily. Allor was stunned at first, then he was a little angry. This guy really didn't put him in his eyes. He gave him a good path, but he didn't take it. This guy refused a toast only to drink a forfeit. Brother Lo. Go. Beat him to death. He's so shameless. Let him bleed a few kilograms. Yu Ziping shouted at the side. In his eyes, Allor would never lose. Allor glared at him with a mixture of anger and killing intent, making Yu Ziping shut up obediently. He took 2 steps forward and flexed his fists. His bones made a cracking sound. You're unlucky today. You provoked someone you shouldn't have. I won't take your life, but you better ask your family to call an ambulance for you. Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. Why do you talk so much nonsense when you're fighting? A hint of fierceness flashed in Allor's eyes. He didn't say anything else and rushed forward like a black lightning. He raised his sandbag-sized fist and didn't use any internal energy. He used pure strength to punch Yang Qing's stomach. Yang Qing estimated that the strength of this punch should be equivalent to 2,000 kilograms. This Allor did have some skills. Unfortunately, he met him. Allor thought that this punch would send Yang Qing flying at least 3 to 4 meters. He didn't expect that when the punch landed on Yang Qing's stomach. It was like hitting a thick dam made of reinforced concrete. The surrounding students couldn't bear to watch. Although Zhenxiu wasn't worried, she closed her eyes subconsciously. When the crowd realized that Allor's fist had landed on Yang Qing's stomach but didn't cause the slightest ripple, they all opened their mouths wide. Alu was also dumbfounded. He even suspected that he was dreaming. How is this possible? Yang Qing yawned. The strength of his body was not something that a martial artist could imagine. In the past, it was purely the God's Stone's modification. Now, the endless resolve restoration scripture was manipulating the heaven and earth restoration energy to refine his body. It could be said that his body's strength was several times stronger than those cloned bodies. After a moment of shock, Allor's combat instinct made him activate his internal energy. He gathered all his internal energy and threw a left hook at Yang Qing's chin. However, before the fist could touch Yang Qing's chin, Yang Qing had already used his right hand to block it with a finger. Ali's punch with all his might stopped in midair. It had been blocked. Yang Qing said unhappily, "Why did you change to hitting my face? If you hit other places, I'll let you hit me a few more times. Hitting my face is the same as ruining my career. Don't you know that I have a lot of women to accompany?" This shameless excuse made people roll their eyes, causing many students to almost collapse. Zhenxiu's face turned red. She could understand why Lin Ruoxi was always so angry. As for Yu Ziping, who was waiting for Allor to get back at him, his legs were so weak that he almost fell to the ground. Alu, on the other hand, felt deeply humiliated and trembled with anger. "You're messing with me. Come on, I'm not interested in men. You're much stronger than me. Why are you still pretending?" "Because the main character isn't here," Yang Qing said in boredom. Suddenly, he noticed something and grinned. "All right, I think we're here." Yang Qing did not want to wait any longer. He reached out and grabbed Allor's wrist and twisted it. "Ah!" Allor screamed in pain. His wrist was broken. "I won't pursue those harsh words from before. Break one of your hands." As Yang Qing spoke, he spun around nimbly, as if he was throwing a hammer, and flung the 1.9-meter-tall man away. Allor could not control his body at all. His muscular body, which was nearly 200 kilograms, was like a human cannonball. He flew more than 10 meters away and drew a high parabola. When Allor was about to land, the place where he landed happened to be 2 middle-aged men in suits and leather shoes. "Master, be careful." When Allor saw who he was about to hit, he immediately shouted in the air. Yu Weibing, who was walking over with Fang Zhongping, was also shocked. Fortunately, he had trained in martial arts before, so he nimbly stepped back and avoided the explosion. "What's going on?" Yu Weibing asked angrily. Alor fell and tumbled. Fortunately, he had thick skin and cultivated internal energy. Other than his broken wrist, he did not suffer many injuries. He quickly got up and reported, "Master, that guy is an expert. I am no match for him." When Yu Weibing heard this, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He passed through the crowd and looked at Yang Qing, who was standing there with a smile. Fang Zhongping, who was with him, was also shocked. As far as he knew, Alor was the trump card of the Jiangnan military's special forces. If he had not made some mistakes in the discipline and been saved by Yu Weibing, he would not have retired and worked for Yu Weibing. However, when Fang Zhongping saw that the person standing there was actually Yang Qing, he immediately had a complicated expression on his face and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Dad, you're finally here. It's this guy who hit me." Yu Ziping found a life-saving straw again. He quickly rushed to his father's side, pointed at his swollen face and cried. Yu Weibing's eyebrows twitched. He pushed his good-for-nothing son aside and strode forward. His eyes were sharp, and with the awe of a superior, he said in a deep voice, "Do you know the consequences of going against the Yu family in Jiangnan?" Chapter 1002. Seeing that Yu Weibing was going to confront Yang Qing directly, Fang Zhongping quickly stepped forward to stop them. "Old Yu, stop it." "Why, do you think I'm afraid of him?" Yu Weibing asked with a dark face. "I didn't mean that." "Then stop talking nonsense with me." Fang Zhongping couldn't help but push Yu Weibing back and said nervously, "Don't make things worse. This is Yang Qing." "I don't care if he's Yang Qing or Wang Chen's." "Wait, what did you say?" Yu Weibing was still angry just a moment ago, but he couldn't wrap his head around it. You said his name is Yang Qing." Fang Zhongping smiled gloomily. "Didn't you say you wanted to see him? Now he's right in front of you. Why do you still want to confront him?" It was obvious that Yu Weibing was still in a daze, and it was difficult for him to adapt to the situation. He had never thought that the young man with the annoying smile in front of him was the eldest grandson of the Yang family in Yanjing. Alor and Yu Ziping looked at the two of them in confusion, not knowing what was going on. A trace of doubt flashed through Yang Chen's eyes, and he asked, "Secretary Fang, why are you here?" Fang Zhongping hurriedly turned around, straightened his suit jacket, and said with a reserved smile, "I'm here to ask for a leave for Tang Tang. This is Principal Yu Weibing, my comrade in arms when I was a soldier in the army. We're old friends, so I'm here to catch up." Yang Qing nodded and said to Yu Weibing, "You're this kid's father?" Yu Weibing glared at his son angrily, but quickly calmed himself down and nodded with a kind face. "It's really a misunderstanding. It turns out that we all know each other. Young Master Yang, why didn't you tell us in advance that you were coming to our school so that we could welcome you?" As he spoke, Yu Weibing signaled Alor with his eyes. Alor understood and asked the surrounding students to disperse. After all, they were going to have military training, so the students didn't dare to stay any longer. Zhenxiu wasn't in a hurry to leave because Yang Qing was there. "There's no need for a welcoming dinner. Your son has already done it for you, and it's very special," Yang Qing said, "but it's good that you're here. It saves me the trouble of looking for you." Yu Weibing smiled humbly and said, "I'm afraid Child Yang is still angry with my son. For the sake of my only son, why don't we sit together and have a cup of tea? Let's turn this into a small matter and a small matter into nothing. After all, Child Yang isn't hurt." "Dad, he said he wants to change the principal," Yu Ziping whispered at the side. Yu Weibing's expression changed. He looked at Yang Qing's expression and frowned deeply. "Child Yang, although I respect the Yang family, this isn't a joke. It's the central government's decision for me to be the principal. The principal of Zhonghai University isn't someone who can be changed at will," Yu Weibing said. Fang Zhongping also persuaded, "That's right, Yang Qing. Old Yu is a little too much, but of course he's angry because his son was beaten up. Just let him go. Yang Qing shook his head. If it wasn't for me today, our Jinxiu might have been bullied by a bunch of hooligans in school. If it wasn't for our Jinxiu, she might have been bullied by them, and I wouldn't even know. If it wasn't for me, I would have been beaten to a pulp by your son's hooligan brothers. If an ordinary citizen's child met someone like your son, wouldn't they have to obediently hand over their daughter to be trampled on? Don't pretend that you don't know. Based on your son's behavior now, he must have done a lot of things like that in the past. It was most likely you who settled it for him, wasn't it? Yu Weibing's face alternated between red and white. He didn't know what to say. If someone else dared to say these things to him, he would have asked Allor to slap his face until it was swollen. Even if he went to court, the other party would only be asking for trouble. But the person in front of him was Yang Qing. He even had something to ask of Yang Qing. Moreover, the Yang family wasn't someone he could easily deal with. A person like you being the principal is equivalent to a complete negative example. If you were a gang leader, I wouldn't care about you, as long as you don't implicate me and the people around me. But you just had to come here to be the principal. That won't just affect one or two people. I don't want the university that our Jinxiu worked so hard to get into to have a rat **T like you as the principal. So, you have to leave this school today. Yang Qing said lightly, but there was no room for doubt. Fang Zhongping's face almost turned green. This Yang Qing was too rude. He even scolded a rat **T? Yu Weibing's face was already gloomy. Child Yang, I'm afraid you don't know the relationship between our Yu family and the Yang family. Yang Qing was slightly puzzled. What's the relationship? Yu Weibing said confidently, my father, Yu Zhong, is your great-grandfather, a general under the direct command of old Marshal Yang Yi. Before my generation, our old Yu family worked for the Yang family. After old Marshal Yang Yi passed away, we came to the Jiangnan region to enter politics. Yang Qing sneered. What does this have to do with me replacing you as the principal? Yu Weibing was stunned. He didn't expect Yang Qing to not give him face. He hesitated and said, Child Yang, actually I've been looking for a chance to meet you recently. I have something. I want to talk to you in private. After we talk, maybe you won't want to replace me as the principal anymore. As he said this, Yu Weibing made an inviting gesture, asking Yang Qing to go with him to an empty field not far away for a chat. Yang Qing had a strange premonition in his heart. He asked Jinxiu to wait at the side and walked over with Yu Weibing. Although Fang Zhongping and the others were curious, they didn't dare to get close to listen. After walking to the empty field, and confirming that there was no one around, Yu Weibing smiled mysteriously. Child Yang, do you know why our Yu family was doing well in Yanjing? We were originally the direct descendants of the Yang family, but we suddenly moved to the Jiangnan region, gave up our position in the military, and started to enter politics. Now I'm reduced to being a principal. Yang Qing raised his eyebrows. Your position as a principal isn't low, right? The principal of Zhonghai University is at least a department-level official. What's this? It's just a civilian position. Back then, my father was the deputy commander-in-chief of the Yanjing military region, with the rank of major general, Yu Weibing said proudly. Yang Qing was a little surprised. It seemed like what this person said was true, but why hadn't he heard of the Yu family when he went back to the Yang family, chatted with Yang Gongming a lot, and met many direct descendants of the Yang family? The deputy commander-in-chief of the Yanjing military region, that must be a family that the Yang family valued. Could it be that you were like your son back then, and were exiled to Jiangnan because they couldn't stand it anymore? Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. Yu Weibing, on the other hand, had a serious expression on his face. Young Master Yang, when my father was still alive, I obeyed his words and never dared to reveal this secret. Although we left Yanjing, we lived a good life under the shadow of old Marshal Yuan. But now that my father has passed away, our Yu family's position in the Jiangnan region is declining day by day. I can't allow our family to continue declining like this, so I need your support. Yang Qing squinted his eyes. Don't tell me you still want to go back to Yanjing? It's not that I have to go back to Yanjing, but I hope that the Yang family can support the revival of our Yu family. At least, let me reach the height that my father had back then, so that my descendants won't have to worry about anything. Yu Weibing smiled confidently. Yang Qing sized him up. The height that your father had? You still want to be a major general? The right to command troops? Can't I? Are you kidding me? Yang Qing stopped smiling. Although I'm not interested in taking over the Yang family's affairs, and I'm even less interested in managing the troops, but based on your and your son's conduct, wouldn't the people suffer if the troops were handed over to you? Yu Weibing shook his finger. Child Yang, don't be too idealistic. Do you think that the generals in the military are good people? Yu Weibing, have indeed done some unpleasant things, but at least I got to where I am today with my own strength. Moreover, as far as I know, the commander of the Jiangnan military region, Yang Pejuan, is no longer around. If the Yang family wants to control the Jiangnan military region, they have to place more trusted family members. Our Yu family has served the Yang family for generations, and our loyalty is evident. Yang Chen's gaze gradually turned cold. I don't want to listen to you anymore. If this is all you want to say, I think you should just pack up and leave. Let someone else take over the position of the headmaster. Yu Weibing wasn't angry at all. He smiled strangely. Child Yang, before my father died, he told me the main reason why the Yu family left Yanjing. Why don't you listen and think about it? With that, Yu Weibing leaned over and whispered something into Yang Cheng's ear. Chapter 1003. The two of them were whispering to each other on the spacious lawn. It was inevitable that the people watching from afar were confused. As the person involved, Yang Qing didn't care at all at first, but after listening to the latter part, a strange look flashed across his eyes. When Yu Weibing finished speaking, Yang Qing seemed to be in a daze. Yang Qing didn't expect Yu Weibing to tell him such a piece of information. It was like a heavy bomb directly exploding in his heart. Yang Qing was confident that he had the ability to distinguish whether something like this was true or false, and Yu Weibing could actually tell him such a reason, at this time so smoothly and complacently. Without a doubt, Yang Qing felt that it was most likely the case. This thing you're talking about, does the old man know about it? Yang Qing asked in a deep voice. Old man? Yu Weibing thought for a while. It's old Marshal Yang, right? I think he won't know about it, otherwise, no one would be able to stand it. Yang Qing was silent again, no one knew what he was thinking. Child Yang, you can think about it carefully. Giving our Yu family a chance is just a small effort, it won't be a loss to you and the Yang family. My father and I left Beijing for the Yang family and kept it a secret for decades. Shouldn't we get some reward? Are you trying to threaten me? Yang Qing came back to his senses and asked with squinted eyes. How is it a threat? Yu Weibing smiled gently. We're just discussing a choice that's good for both of us. Do you really think that such a small matter can make the Yang family collapse? Of course not, but if such a stain is revealed, the Yang family naturally doesn't deserve to have such great power in the military, and it's time for the four major families to give up their positions. Yu Weibing smiled with squinted eyes. Yang Qing collected his thoughts. After going through all the details in his mind, he said expressionlessly, Aren't you afraid of losing your life by saying it so easily? Yu Weibing laughed. Child Yang, are you trying to silence me? It's useless. Since I dared to say this, I naturally came prepared. What era was it now? No matter what kind of information, as long as there was proof, it would be spread to millions of people in just a few minutes. I've already ordered my confidants to spread the information I gave them if I were to die unexpectedly. Even if the Yang family has eyes and ears everywhere, they can only limit the online media in Huaxia. But my preparations are for the whole world. Child Yang, if the Yang family disgraces the whole of Huaxia, then do you think the people will still allow the country's military to have generals from the Yang family faction? Yang Qing revealed a sneering smile. This strange smile made Yu Weibing's hair stand on end, but he still pretended to be calm. Do you really think that I care about what you said? What do you mean? Yu Weibing was a little confused. Yang Qing said indifferently, What does it have to do with me whether the Yang family has military power or not? What does it have to do with me whether the Yang family disgraces themselves? Yu Weibing's heart skipped a beat. He tried his best to smile and said, Child Yang, you don't have to bluff. I think you should be very clear about how big a loss this will be for the Yang family. As the person who is going to inherit the Yang family, you shouldn't do something that is detrimental to yourself. Whether I'm bluffing or not, you'll know tomorrow. I'll give you 1 day to pack up and leave. If you're still the principal of this university tomorrow, and your hooligan son is still here harassing our Jinxiu, then I guarantee that you and your son won't even know how you died. After Yang Qing finished speaking indifferently, he turned around and walked away without looking back. Yu Weibing watched as Yang Qing left leisurely. He clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth. It was obvious that he was furious to the extreme. What he didn't see was that the moment Yang Qing turned around, a trace of worry flashed across his eyes. In fact, although Yang Qing said that he didn't care, he was still a little worried. After all, that shocking old secret would not only affect him, but the people around him were the most concerned. If not for that, Yang Qing planned to kill this guy when there was no one around just because he dared to threaten him. But now, Yang Qing had to make a choice carefully. Jinxiu saw that Yang Qing came back after the discussion as if nothing had happened, but she still asked worriedly, Brother Yang, is something wrong? Yang Qing glanced at Yu Ziping, who didn't dare to approach, and didn't bother to pay attention to the playboy anymore. He smiled at Jinxiu and said, What can happen? You'll have to change the principal tomorrow. Fang Zhongping smiled bitterly and said, You really can do anything. Sigh. I also know that you won't listen to anything I say, but now I'm embarrassed to face my old comrade. Yang Qing said faintly, You'd better tell him not to do anything stupid, otherwise, you know the way I do things. A trace of surprise flashed between Fang Zhongping's brows. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty, but didn't dare to ask any more questions. Yang Qing turned to Jinxiu and said leisurely, Let's go, take me around your school. I want to see the place where you teach and the cafeteria. Why do you still want to see the cafeteria? Of course, otherwise how would I know if you're eating well at school? Jinxiu pouted, You're treating me like a child again. Cut the crap, let's go. Yang Qing reached out to touch Jinxiu's head. Don't touch my head. I'm watching. Jinxiu hurriedly dodged and looked at the freshmen walking on the drill ground. My classmates have already started their military training, this isn't good. I'll talk to your instructor later. I don't think he would dare to do anything? Yang Qing said indifferently. Jinxiu rolled her eyes cutely. She knew that with Yang Qing's protective personality, he wouldn't let her suffer a loss. She was also happy to get along with Yang Qing, so she nodded and agreed. Although Yang Qing had been to Zhonghai University a few times before, he had only gone to a corner of the huge campus. There weren't many areas where he actually visited where the students usually lived and studied. Walking through the campus with Jinxiu, Yang Qing couldn't help but yearn for such an ordinary school life when he saw the students carrying their school bags and book. However, there was no hope for him in this lifetime. Occasionally, the two of them would pass by pairs of university couples. Many people would subconsciously glance at Yang Qing and Jinxiu when they passed by. It was obvious that many people also treated the two of them as lovers. This made Jinxiu couldn't help but think of something. She lowered her head and didn't say a word. Su Jinxiu, what are you daydreaming about? Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. Jinxiu bit her red lips. Big brother Yang, do you think, will I have a boyfriend in the future? I mean, I'm already in university, and many of my classmates are talking about getting married in the future. Yang Qing's face stiffened, and then Shanshan smiled and said, "What are you saying? Of course you will have a boyfriend. Didn't you always say that you're not a little girl?" Zhenxiu raised her head and looked at Yang Qing with a pair of big, watery eyes. "If I have a boyfriend, will Big Brother Yang be happy?" Yang Qing felt a little strange, but he still nodded. "Of course, if it's a boy who treats you well and is good to you." There were some things that even if he always understood, he shouldn't show it. Yang Qing knew that he was being a little cruel, but wasn't it also a kind of responsibility for the girl? "Oh." Zhenxiu turned her head away in disappointment and didn't ask any more questions. Next, the two of them slowly walked back to the drill ground, as if they had lost interest in talking. When Yang Qing sent Zhenxiu back to class for military training, the students were obviously looking at him with some respect and curiosity, but Yang Qing didn't take it to heart. After saying goodbye to Zhenxiu, Yang Qing didn't delay any longer. He thought of going home for lunch and immediately rushed to Xiao Qiqing's place. Yang Qing already knew the specific location and contact information. After all, he had asked Molin to secretly send people to protect her. Yang Qing couldn't figure out what kind of feelings he had for Xiao Qiqing, but he was sure that he definitely didn't fall in love with her like he did with other women. But for this woman who had a miserable life and suffered inhumane torture since she was young, he always had some inexplicable sympathy and concern. Xiao Qiqing's place was a quiet mid-range apartment on the edge of Zhonghai University. This woman had made a lot of money in the United States, and she had extremely strong hacking skills. Renting a single apartment in Zhonghai was naturally not a problem. When Yang Qing came downstairs and was about to go in, he stopped. "Damn it, why is this woman here?" Yang Qing couldn't wait to get out of here. Chapter 1004. Yang Qing's reaction was because there was a beautiful figure that Yang Qing did not want to see again on the road in front of the apartment building. She wore a pink cartoon hoodie and a pair of tight white pants. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail with a red bow. She was dressed like a young girl, but her perky breasts were hard to hide. Her curves were so full that it made people want to look at her. Looking from the side of her face, the girl's rosy complexion was like a lotus emerging from the water. Her cheeks, which had a bit of baby fat on them, were especially lovable. Her delicate facial features were fresh and pretty, and her eyelashes were long and fluttering. At this time, because she was curious about something, she revealed a bit of bright doubt. Luo Xiaoxiao? Yang Qing immediately remembered this girl. She was the one he met when he accompanied Mother Wang to buy shoes. She sat on his face and insisted that he be her boyfriend. She even gave him her number. However, because Yang Qing would not pick up her calls, she gradually stopped calling. He thought that the matter was over. He did not expect to meet her here. Yes, she said that she was also a student at Zhonghai University. No wonder. Of course, Yang Qing would not take the initiative to meet her. If he had met a young and beautiful girl with a good figure before he got married, he would not reject her. However, he already had so many outstanding women by his side. His legal wife was still giving him the cold shoulder. He did not dare to involve other women, let alone a crazy girl like her. Fortunately, Luo Xiaoxiao did not find anything after searching for a while. She touched her face in a daze and hopped away from the other side. Yang Qing heaved a sigh of relief. He walked to the apartment where Xiao Qiqing lived. Although there was a password lock, Yang Qing had already investigated it. Naturally, he would not stop her. He went upstairs and knocked on Xiao Qiqing's door. After a while, the woman slowly opened the door. Compared to the previous times they met, Xiao Qiqing was dressed much more simply at home. She only wore a white long-sleeved knitted sweater paired with a short tight-fitting denim skirt. It was refreshing and eye-catching. When she saw Yang Qing, Xiao Qiqing's first reaction was to poke her head out and carefully look downstairs. A trace of doubt flashed across Yang Qing's mind. After some consideration, he asked, You're looking for a girl? Xiao Qiqing seemed to be startled and quickly retreated into the room. You? How did you know? Is she still downstairs? Yang Qing shook his head. He took a look around and left. It's all right. Xiao Qiqing touched her breasts and felt relieved. Who is she? Do you know her? Why do you look so scared? Xiao Qiqing pursed his thin lips and forced himself to say, let's not talk about this first. Don't you want to show me something? Come in and talk. Yang Qing did not ask any more questions. He nodded and walked into the living room. Because it was a one-person apartment, the place was not big. It was dozens of square meters, and the decoration was quite simple. After Yang Qing found a sofa and sat down, Xiao Qiqing quietly poured a glass of water for him and sat opposite him. What do you want me to show you? Take it out, Xiao Qiqing said with a faint smile. Looking at the woman's slightly pale face, Yang Qing could not bear to look at her, but he did not know where to start. He could only take out the mustard sumeru ring, 2 magic weapons, a bottle of elixirs, and some miscellaneous medicinal materials. Xiao Qiqing pulled herself together and carefully glanced at the pile of things in front of her. She could not help but open her thin red lips, looking very surprised. These? Where did you get them? Yang Qing did not hide anything and told her about his encounter with Hao Chongfeng and Lu Huiting last night, as well as the death of the Hongmeng envoy, Monk Tianyin. When Xiao Qiqing heard the whole story, she could not help but angrily say, Hongmeng is shameless. They always thought that they were independent of the secular world, and that they could look down on the secular world. In fact, they were just evil spirits that drank the blood of mortals. They were actually no different from the hidden families. They are all a bunch of scum who only know how to squeeze the resources of Earth to satisfy their own personal interests. Listening to these words, Yang Qing could feel the strong hatred in the woman's heart. Although he felt that it was a little excessive, after all, they did not burn, kill, or plunder, so it could not be considered as oppressing the common people. However, thinking about what Xiao Qiqing had experienced since she was young, it was understandable that her mind was a little twisted. Now that you have escaped, you should see more beautiful things. Don't always think about hating those people, or else you will only let yourself live in pain. Yang Qing could not help but say. However, Xiao Qiqing shook her head. Her pair of moist black eyes were filled with deep resentment. That's because you now have the ability to change your fate. I'm different. Ever since I was young, I never had any hope. In my world, there had never been any feelings other than hatred and pain. If I had to say that I didn't have any other thoughts, it would be revenge. I want to return all my pain to the group of devils who have hurt me since I was young. Yang Qing could not help but be stunned on the sofa. The woman in front of him suddenly became emotional, causing him to be in a daze. Only then did Xiao Qiqing realize that she was too excited, and her face turned red. Shanshan awkwardly lowered her head and began to carefully identify these magic treasures. So, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said these words to you, Yang Qing laughed. I feel that this version of you is much more likable than when I was charming. Xiao Qiqing's delicate body trembled slightly. She looked at Yang Qing affectionately, but her peach cheeks were pink, and she did not dare to look at Yang Qing directly. After more than a minute, Xiao Qiqing finally recovered and said seriously, "These magic treasures are not ordinary. They should have been specially given to them when they left Hongmeng. This flying sword is mystic water, a flying sword of the water attribute. Although it is made of Arctic mystic iron, because it is purely of the water attribute, the craftsmanship is not very exquisite. It can only be considered as a mid-grade flying sword. As for this zither, it should be phoenix plume. It is said to be made from the phoenix tree where the ancient phoenix lived. It can be considered as a mid-grade magic treasure. It's a pity that Lu Huiting's cultivation level is too low, or else you would have encountered a lot of trouble. This mustard seed sumeru ring is ordinary. The space is very small, and it is not a good magic treasure. It is a stretch to call it a low-grade magic treasure. Yang Chen wasn't interested in the mystical artifacts at all. He was using the heaven and earth restoration energy from the very beginning. To him, the mystical artifacts were nothing more than tools. He would give these magic treasures to his women to protect themselves when their cultivation levels were high enough. What about this bottle of elixirs and herbs? Yang Qing asked. Xiao Qiqing smiled and said, "You are quite lucky. There should be no less than 30 low-grade elixirs in this bottle. Bodhi pill is a basic elixir used to strengthen one's primordial qi. It may not be of much use to you, and it won't have much effect on cultivators in the soul-forming stage. However, for cultivators who have not reached the soul-forming stage, the Bodhi pill can greatly speed up the process of the innate true qi transforming into true essence. Generally speaking, if you are not particularly talented, the Bodhi pill will increase your chances of reaching the soul-forming stage by at least 20%. Only 20%. Yang Qing said gloomily, that is too low. Xiao Qiqing shook her head helplessly. You are not taking the soul-forming stage seriously. It is already good enough to increase it by 20%. For Hongmeng and the hidden families in the illusion realm, elixirs are more important than magic treasures. Also, since most of the immortal herbs and spirit medicines have gone extinct in the ancient times, most of the herbs now are ordinary. To have elixirs, even low-grade elixirs are more important than low-grade magic treasures. As for mid-grade elixirs, only the Earth Realm Elders in Hongmeng can have them. High-grade elixirs are enough to make them fight for it. Yang Qing thought about it and agreed. If eating a few elixirs could allow one to reach the soul-forming stage, then Hongmeng would have more than 1,000 people. However, it was better than nothing. A 20% chance was still a chance. Plus, it could speed up cultivation. These Bodhi pills should all be given to his women. Kai Ning should need it the most, so he should give her more. As for the other women, they should reach the innate stage first. Yang Qing calculated. Including the evil-suppressing golden hammer and the blood dragon golden dagger, he now had 5 magic treasures in his hands. However, the highest grade was the blood dragon golden dagger, which was only a little above average. It was really shabby. He didn't know when Hongmeng or the hidden families would give him a big fish and a high-grade magic treasure. Even if he didn't use it, it would be good to give it to his women. Chapter 1005. As for the Fengxiang bracelet that was already on Lin Ruoxi's wrist, Yang Qing didn't plan to include it. That thing's level was definitely not low, but as a gift from a mother-in-law to a daughter-in-law, Yang Qing preferred to think of it as a family heirloom. The rest of the herbs, in the eyes of Xiao Qiqing, were some of the most basic herbs for alchemy in the illusion realm. They weren't very useful, so she could throw them away or eat them as tonics. After looking at everything, Yang Qing looked at the time. It was almost lunchtime, so he stood up and was about to leave. Xiao Qiqing didn't dare to stay any longer. Now she wanted to rely on Yang Qing to protect herself, so she didn't dare to have any other thoughts. She just wanted to do her part obediently. But right at this moment, a pungent burnt smell came from the kitchen. Ah! Xiao Qiqing exclaimed and quickly ran to the kitchen in her slippers. Yang Chen followed her in bewilderment, only to see the woman carefully turn off the gas stove. She then looked at the burnt pot with a pitiful expression, as if she wanted to cry but had no tears. Are you roasting meat? Xiao Qiqing nodded eagerly. I put it on before you came, but I forgot about it after chatting with you. Yang Qing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How can you be so careless? As a woman, you are still so careless. It seems that you were quite scheming when you lied to me in the U.S. Xiao Qiqing lowered her head shyly. I have never cooked before, so it's inevitable that I make mistakes. If you don't know how to cook, then go buy it. Were you always like this in the U.S.? Before I returned, I gave a lot of money to my subordinates in the U.S. Now I don't work, so I have to save some money. Yang Qing was speechless. He didn't expect that Xiao Qiqing had a conscience. After leaving the U.S., she still subsidized her subordinate. She had grown up in a hidden family and had only been out for 2 years. It was only after she returned to Zhonghai that she started living alone. It was no wonder that this woman was careless. Yang Qing smelled the burning smell in the house and looked at the dejected woman standing in the kitchen. He couldn't help but feel pity for her. "All right, wash the pot, and I'll treat you to a meal. It's all a reward for helping me appraise," Yang Qing said. Xiao Qiqing raised her head and looked at Yang Qing in disbelief. Are you serious?" Yang Qing couldn't help laughing and said, "Although I'm afraid of my wife, I'm not afraid to treat you to a meal. It's not like I'm treating you to a hotel." Xiao Qiqing's cheeks immediately turned red and she hurriedly turned around to deal with the burnt vegetables, not daring to reply. After dealing with the dishes, Xiao Qiqing put on a waist-length suit jacket and went out with Yang Qing. But perhaps it was because Yang Qing made fun of her, the woman kept her head down shyly and didn't say a word. Yang Qing suddenly felt that the Xiao Qiqing he knew in the past wasn't the real her. Once this woman took off the facade that was useless to him, she was just a delicate woman who didn't have much experience in the world. She could even be considered as the meek type. This made Yang Qing feel especially fresh. He couldn't help but have an evil thought. If the current Xiao Qiqing went to bed with him, how shy would it be? But he could only think about it. Yang Qing didn't want another landmine to be on the line between him and Lin Ruoxi. When he asked Xiao Qiqing what she liked to eat, the woman only said whatever she liked. Yang Qing found a Sichuan restaurant near the university. Sitting face to face and eating, Xiao Qiqing was obviously a little uneasy. Perhaps it was because she was grateful for Lin Ruoxi's tolerance. The woman always felt a little guilty sitting with Yang Qing like this. The two didn't talk much. Halfway through the meal, Yang Qing's phone on the table vibrated. Yang Qing took a look and saw that it was Choi Yun who hadn't contacted him for a while. This policewoman was always busy all day, and Yang Qing was most worried about whether she could complete her training on time. But Yang Qing didn't want to force his woman like an instructor, so he didn't ask much. Just when he picked up the phone and was about to speak, Choi Yun's explosive loud voice came from the phone. "Yang Qing, what's the matter with that child?" Yang Qing subconsciously put away the phone and said with a bitter smile, "Yonyan, don't talk without a head or tail. What child?" Choi Yun was obviously a little excited. "It's that little girl named Lanlan. Tell me the truth, is she your biological daughter? You have an illegitimate daughter with another woman, right?" Hearing this, Yang Qing was puzzled. "Why do you think so? Lanlan is a child that Ruoxi wants to adopt. How can she be my biological daughter?" "Really?" Choi Yun said with some disbelief. "How can you allow Ruoxi to adopt a child so suddenly? You are still so young. I thought you were very strict with children. If she wasn't your biological daughter, I would find it unbelievable. Lanlan isn't an ordinary girl. You can just let Ruoxi explain it to you. But why are you suddenly telling me this? Did you see Ruoxi today?" Choi Yun muttered. "Of course I saw her. The Empress just came to my office. She took time out of her busy schedule to come, holding your baby daughter." Yang Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Did she ask you to do something?" Choi Yun snorted and said, "It's the adoption procedures, because our country's law states that the couple must be at least 30 years old to adopt a child. You are still far from that. So she asked me to help open the back door, so that the adoption can be legal and Lanlan can have an identity." Yang Qing suddenly understood, but he couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that Lin Ruoxi was determined to adopt Lanlan as her own daughter. She hurriedly handled the adoption procedures for Lanlan behind his back. It was probably because he said yesterday that regardless of whether Lanlan's grandfather came back or not, he would try his best to help keep Lanlan. But for Yang Qing, it didn't matter. Lanlan was indeed very likable, and she was talented. She was suitable to be his daughter. On the other side, after Choi Yun confirmed the situation, she said leisurely, "But really, Lon Lon is very cute, and Ruashi has good taste. But this is also very shameless. Obviously, no one can get pregnant, and I still want to compete for first place. Now Ruashi directly adopted one. This is simply cheating." Yang Qing had a headache. This policewoman's way of thinking was indeed extraordinary. "If you like, you can also adopt one. I don't object." Yang Qing smiled bitterly. "I don't want to. Catching criminals is what I like to do." Choi Yun said happily, "I've already thought about it. Since Lon Lon isn't Ruashi's biological daughter, it's the same as calling us mom. When I'm free on the weekend, I'll buy some fun and delicious food to bribe her. Maybe Lon Lon will like me even more in the future." Yang Qing touched his face, feeling helpless towards Choi Yun's rich imagination. Just as he was about to urge the woman not to forget about cultivation, Choi Yun had an urgent mission and directly hung up the phone. Yang Qing gloomily put down his phone, only to see Xiao Qiqing looking at him strangely. "Is there a flower on my face?" Xiao Qiqing shook her head and pursed her lips into a smile. "Can I ask you a question? How many lovers do you have?" Yang Qing could clearly see the strong fire of gossip in the woman's eyes, but this wasn't a difficult question to ask. On the contrary, it was something that he should answer directly. 7. Yang Qing blurted out. Of course, he didn't count those who were just having sex, otherwise, how could he count them all? Xiao Qiqing's mouth was wide open, a trace of resentment flashed through her eyes. "No wonder Miss Lin hates Little Sand so much. You're too much." Yang Qing thought to himself that he had rejected quite a few of them, so he curled his lips and said, "We've already quarreled a lot about this matter, can you not mention this to me?" However, Xiao Qiqing smiled sweetly. "Actually, it's nothing much, you're a good man, so it's understandable that many women like you." Yang Qing almost spat out the rice in his mouth. He covered his mouth and said vaguely, "Good man?" Xiao Qiqing nodded. "You're so powerful, yet you're willing to agree to Miss Lin's adoption of a daughter as your first child. This can only prove that you love Miss Lin more than yourself. At least that's what I think." "You think too highly of me. I'm not that noble." Yang Qing shook his head. "In short, among all the people I've met, you and Miss Lin are the people who treat me the best, other than the nanny." Looking at the woman's sincere eyes, Yang Qing couldn't help but feel guilty, but he had to admit that Xiao Qiqing's words made her even more likable in his eyes.